Half of the answers you want to know are here. Come in with me. Jilyo looks back at Yunwoo, pushes the door open and goes inside. Different from the light on the outside, there is no black paint on the inside. Cloud Dance C9 that figure disappear in the darkness of the house. The psychology actually began to hesitate. But in the end, he succumbed to his inner curiosity. As soon as you enter the building, the light around you disappears and you fall into the darkness. You can even say that you can't see the darkness. Jilyo? Where are you? Cloud Dance will hold the baby tightly in her arms, alert to the tension. Fortunately, it didn't take long to see the light of a candle shining from far to near in the darkness. When it was built here, it was built with the border as the central eye. Here, in addition to the most primitive candlelight, even the night pearl can't light up. 9U is carrying candlelight. Walk toward the candlestick of hang adornment of 4 corners, light candle one by one. At this time, Cloud Dance can really see what's going on all around. This is a temple. Because, in the light of candlelight, this is a hall, or an empty hall. The only striking thing is the rows of memorial tablets above the main hall. Obviously, the names on the tablets are all the same surnames. It should be from the same family. When Jilyo was looking at those tablets, there was a faint flash in his deep eyes, but it soon disappeared. This is the ancestral hall of the dark faction of the Wu clan. Which clan? The ancestral hall of the dark faction? Yunwoo, who was still looking at those tablets, was suddenly surprised. He turned his head and looked at Jilyo. Do you say witches? Well, you're right. There is only one wizard in the world. Jilyo said plainly. But Yunwoo felt a little confused. Isn't the witch clan from Fairyland? Why did the ancestral hall of the witch clan come to the place of the demon clan? Let alone Jilyo, who was filial to himself, set up a memorial ceremony here, because there were more than 200 memorial tablets in that row. Even if it is filial piety, it is impossible to make more than 200 memorial tablets to worship. Jilyo seems to understand what Yunwoo thinks, and he smiles. You little girl, I have just said that this is the ancestral hall of the dark faction of the Wu clan, while the ancestral hall of the bright faction is in the Fairyland, and the Wu clan is almost in the Fairyland. Oh, the Cloud Dance is speechless and nods. Do you all belong to the same family name? Because of the surname, Shui, on the tablet. Although the memory is incomplete, it seems that she still remembers that her mother's surname is Huang. 9 You see her curious, also with chat-like explanation. In fact, we are all born with the same surname, all surnames Snow, only the fate of the need to complete the task and leave the Wu people, will need to change another surname, but as long as the Wu people after death, will return to the Snow, this surname. So much trouble. Yunwoo picks eyebrows, but she doesn't understand them in depth. After all, she is just curious. What she wants to know when she comes in with him is not that. Just now you said that we are of the same root, so you are also a witch? Jilyo also nodded his head. Handsome face is still maintaining a smile, the dark faction of the witch family. Then you will come to this ghost place. Is it because of the so-called mission of the witch clan? Cloud Dance looked at him and continued to ask. But for this question, Jilyo obviously pondered for a while. In fact, Yunwoo wanted him to say no. At least, this will let her to that already extinguished sorcerer clan can maintain a trace of fantasy. But after thinking for a while, Jilyo still nodded and said, yes, the sorcerer is a race that obeys the destiny of heaven. Any sorcerer will have his own mission, and my mission is to be the guardian of the sorcerer. Kill her. Yunwoo suddenly has an impulse to kill himself. It's destiny and mission. Can this be fun? I don't know what your name is in the human world. Jilyo suddenly looks at Yunwoo and asks. Yunwoo was still depressed in his heart. After hearing this, he said, Yunwoo, my surname is Yun. To tell you the truth, she really doesn't want to put the surname, Snow. At the beginning, the Queen Old Witch was Snow's surname. If she had the same surname, she would feel uncomfortable. What's more, the so-called mission responsibility of the witch clan is too big. If she can, she really hopes that she is not a witch clan. Joyo looked at the face of some unpredictable cloud dance, with a faint smile. As a past person, listen to my advice, don't try to resist with the fate, the price is too heavy, you will regret it. At what cost? When you say you are a past person, do you mean you have resisted your mission? What are the consequences? Hearing what he said, Yunwoo was a little curious. This Joyo looks perfect. It's hard to see what price he has suffered. See Cloud dance after listening, not only don't worry, but a pair of 8 diagrams like expression, 9 you said suddenly pressure some big. Is this really their witch's saint? With a sigh, Joyo turns around powerlessly and is ready to leave the Wanyuan building. Joyo, you haven't answered me. What are the consequences? Cloud dance holds the baby in her arms and follows her again. After knowing his background, Yunwoo was quite relieved of him. Of course, rest assured, it is impossible for her daughter to take over his class. After leaving Wanyuan building, Joyo walked slowly towards the inner house, followed by Yunwoo. C9 you a pair of intend to answer of appearance, Cloud dance also can give up. However, she seems to remember that she forgot to ask another important question. By the way, just now you said about my mother, do you know about my mother? Where is she now? Joyo's step stopped for a moment, but then it recovered. I've been here for hundreds of years, and I haven't stepped out of here. How can I know where your mother is now? Yunwoo's first reaction was that he lied. Her mother has been missing for more than 10 years, during which the witch clan was destroyed. He said that he had been here for hundreds of years, but he knew the situation of the witches. It can be imagined that he must have a way to get the outside situation. Or he must know how to get out of here. Are you really not going to tell me? Yunwoo follows and stares at him. Joyo's face is expressionless, but from his hand holding the black feather fan, we can see that he seems to have a slight change in emotion. If you didn't mean to tell me, why did you just tell me about my mother? I believe that there must be your plan. In that case, you might as well tell me now. In fact, Joyo really has his plan. However, from what he just said, he could tell that Yunwoo was not a person who could easily compromise his fate. Tell her, maybe it hurt her. However, how long can such a thing be concealed? It seems to see the hesitation of Joyo. Cloud dance can't help but add oil again. You just said, we are the same root, a lot of things, even if you don't say now, I will find it in the future. It's better for you to tell me in advance now, I have a bottom in my heart, right? Hearing this, Joyo's steps finally stopped. Are you sure you have to know? Joyo suddenly looks at Yunwoo seriously. Yunwoo was slightly stunned, but he knew what he was doing. So he nodded and waited for his words. Joyo looked at the cloud dance for a long time, and finally sighed. A low and serious voice came, your mother is the daughter of the most mysterious wizard clan leader in the mainland of China. The daughter of the head of the witch clan. Cloud dance not only slightly picked eyebrows, but did not speak, continue to listen. Joyo was silent for a moment, and seemed to want to find some concise words to state, the witch people are born to be a race that complies with the destiny. You should know that. At the beginning, your mother complied with the destiny and went out to marry the then Prince of Longshu Kingdom, and then helped the then Prince of Longshu Kingdom to succeed and give birth to the next Prince of Longshu Kingdom. What, Longshugua? Married? And have children? Cloud dance heard here, immediately felt waves of black lines sliding down from the forehead. Does the witch family have enough to eat and support, and they have to comply with the destiny to get married and have children? Joyo continued, but I don't know what went wrong. Your mother didn't marry the Prince of Longzuguo. Instead, she married your father. At the beginning, when we found out the mistake, there was still a chance to modify it. However, your mother fell in love with your father. She not only gave birth to you against the destiny, but also destroyed another witch who needed to conform to the destiny and marry your father. As a result of this disorder, the fate of many people has changed. The biggest change is not you, but the father of your child now. Speaking of this, Joyo's voice is obviously more low. But Yunwoo's face changed a lot, and a kind of inexplicable heavy feeling pressed on his heart. She never knew how she was born. But what's the matter with Dragon's evil? It seems that seeing what Yunwoo thought, Joyo continued, if according to the destiny, you and he should not be born like this, and the fate is disturbed, so you are born with two extremes that repel each other. What do you mean? Two extremes? So she's the light department? He's the dark department? But so what? Can't she practice the dark department at the same time? It means that you two are destined to be positive and negative. No matter what, they can't get together. Moreover, his fate is the most thoroughly changed. At the beginning, your mother should have given birth to him, and he will be the dragon of the people. However, because of your relationship, he is destined not to be the dragon of the people. But as he climbs higher and higher, he will be the dragon of the people, the more the fate of life will manifest itself in him. And you will comply with heaven's destiny and become the saint of the witches and the successor of the witches. Hearing this, Yunwoo's face turned black at last. What and what? One positive and one negative. Not destined to be together. Now that they have children and have been together for a long time, how can they be like what Joyo said? Don't believe it. Think about it for yourself. Do you have real peace after you are with him? Moreover, if I remember correctly, it seems that you and he have been married twice, but they are both short of each other, and then you will be separated from each other. Joyo directly breaks the disbelief in Yunwoo's heart. Suddenly, his face began to fade, as if there was a fragile swaying in the wind. Because what he said was true, even though she did not believe in fate. But sometimes, people are so strange that they say they don't believe it all the time, but they can't help recalling it in their mind. Joyo's voice is still impolite, you and he will have children. It's not that you are free from the control of fate, but that fate has been arranged for a long time. You need the blood of the two extremes, and give birth to the son of darkness and the son of light at the same time. Hearing that the fate of the two children was included in the so-called fate, Yunwoo could not help being nervous. I believe that any mother can't keep calm when facing her children's problems. Even Cloud Dance is the same. What will happen to my two children? Joyo thought for a while, and then he seemed to decide to say, like you, they are destined to be born with two extremes. They can never meet each other, otherwise, they are destined to be the end of their lives. What? Can't see each other? Life and death? Does it mean that her two children will never meet in the future, otherwise they will only live one life? No, it's impossible. She would never let that happen. Cloud Dance's eyes burst out a resolute and cold beam, looking directly at Joyo. Where do you know these things? 9 Yuanleng seemed to notice her that mutation of facial expression and resolute, not from deeply saw the Cloud Dance in front of the eye. At half a sound, he said, it's in the Book of Heaven that the envoys of guarding the world have mastered. With that, he did not stop on the path, but continued to move towards the inner courtyard. Cloud Dance continues to follow. However, at this time, she was not just curious about gossip, but changed into a deep and thoughtful mood. Can I have a look at the Book of Heaven? Joyo didn't answer this time. Cloud Dance is not urgent, just follow behind him, speechless all the way. Until you get to a pavilion in the inner courtyard. As soon as Joyo whisks, he sees several attendants putting cakes and hot tea on the table of the pavilion, and then goes back. Joyo sat at the table, took the cup and sipped the tea. Then he looked up at Yunwoo, who didn't plan to sit beside him. It's not that the Book of Heaven can't be shown to you, but what I want to tell you is, don't try to find any way to change your destiny in the Book of Heaven, because there is no way. If so, why should he be here for hundreds of years? However, Yunwoo insisted, show me. Joyo carefully watched Yunwoo for a long time, and then he was sure that Yunwoo was true. He would not stop until he saw the Book of Heaven. The Book of Heaven can't be seen at any time. It needs to wait until a full moon. Full moon? Cloud Dance frowned, almost subconsciously looked up at the sky. And what you see, of course, is the darkness without any stars. Here, there is no light at all. Where is the full moon? Joyo sighed and explained, you just came here and don't understand the rules here. Although it's dark all the year round, it's not really that you can't see any light. When can I see the full moon? Cloud Dance is not entangled in the so-called law of the demon clan, just hoped to let her see the so-called Book of Heaven earlier. She doesn't believe that the future of her and her children will be arranged by destiny. 9. You looking at Cloud Dance's facial expression, seem to see a silk what she thinks in the heart. In the dark is a helpless sigh. It seems that he really guessed right, this girl is really not easy to compromise to fate. If I showed her the book that day, would it hurt her? C9. You stare at her a pair of meditative appearance, Cloud Dance speechless wait for a long time, see he is still a pair of don't know what appearance, finally still can't resist. Jilyo, you haven't answered my question. When is the full moon? Jilyo looked up at the dark sky, and then pinched his fingers to calculate. Then he said, half a month later. Half a month? In fact, Yunwoo is really worried, but she also knows that some things are not urgent, so she can only bear the inner hesitation. The little fat girl in her arms is still sleeping, but from her more and more pink face, this place is really good for her. It's like entering a natural health pool. But suddenly, Yunwoo thought of little Potato. The little guy, for their mother and daughter, was cut in half and died. He was grateful for his guilt, which made Yunwoo feel uncomfortable. Jilyo, do you have any way to bring people back from the dead? Cloud Dance suddenly looks at the 9U who is sitting in front of the table and drinking tea gracefully. Come back from the dead? No. 9U also direct answer. Oh, Yunwoo was somewhat disappointed. However, I have no way, but it does not mean that others have no way. Who do you want to revive? 9U looking at Cloud Dance, doubt inquiry. Yunwoo's eyes were slightly bright, his heart was moving, and a purple light flashed. Suddenly, in a corner of the table with cakes, there appeared the body of a cub which was separated in two. It's important to us. For little Potato, Cloud Dance is really grateful for its unclear explanation. If it wasn't for it, she couldn't escape the pursuit of night. If it wasn't for it, her child would not be safe. In the end, it still died for them. 9. You see the small Potato on the table, but suddenly a pick eyebrow, a slightly surprised look from his that handsome face a flash. The cub of the poor beast? How did you get it? Hearing what he said, Yunwoo was a little funny. Don't you know all about me and the people around me? How did it come about? You don't know. All that he said just now made Yunwoo doubt whether he had been monitoring them in this ghost place with some magic weapon. 9U Rare rolled a white eye to her. You think I know everything? Almost everything I know is from the Book of Heaven, but the Book of Heaven doesn't say you got a poor and strange cub. Is it? Cloud Dance some doubt pick eyebrow. That day there is no record of small potatoes in the book, that is not to say, Tianshu will also have a wrong time. Jilyo shook his head, the Book of Heaven will not make mistakes. Even if there is no record of this cub, you and his fate is still the same. I hear what you mean. You seem to believe in fate now. Didn't you say you were from here? So you didn't believe in fate at the beginning. Why do you submit to it now? Yunwoo stares at Jilyo. She suddenly wants to know the answer. Unfortunately, Jilyo doesn't seem to want to answer this question. Silence. Half an hour later, Yunwoo finally failed. He sat on the stool and carefully put the potato back into the space. Just now you said that other people have ways. Who is it? What conditions do you need? There is no free lunch in the world. Yunwoo is very clear about this, so it is also very clear. Jilyo took his black feather fan and swayed it twice before he said in a flat voice, Yifeng Mountain, the disciple of the old man. The disciple of old man Yifeng Mountain? That's the man you came down from before. Cloud Dance smell speech, poor is some surprised for a while. However, when she saw the man with cherry blossom mark before, she felt a little different. Unexpectedly, he has the ability to bring people back to life. I heard you say to the deputy leader of the demon sect that Yifeng Mountain gave a challenge to the demon sect, and the letter was sent by you. In addition, you saved the man. To tell you the truth, do you have some friendship with Yifeng Mountain? In fact, according to that view, maybe the friendship is more than a little. 9U but didn't answer directly, but pick eyebrow of saw eye Cloud dance, seemed to ask what she wants to do in silent. Cloud danced to hook lips to smile, the eyes some ancient spirit uncanny of looking at him, how to say, we are also relatives, you see, can you use the relationship, to seek personal affection? Joyo shook his head without hesitation, no. I'm an envoy to guard the world. I can't be partial to any side. Therefore, I can't owe anyone. The Cloud dances the corner of the mouth to smoke, can't incline to either side. If she remembers correctly, when he was in the demon sect, he had already shown that he was biased to the other side. He had done all this, but he still said that he could not be biased to either side. Joyo, is he hiding his ears? However, he said all that, and she could not say anything more. Well, you said that. Then tell me, where is Mount Yefeng? I'll go myself. Can Cloud dance that words just finish saying, but C9U shake head again. What do you mean? Yunwoo really can't understand him. With your breath, how far do you think you can walk out of me? Then you don't help me. If I don't go by myself, are you waiting for him to come by himself? Yunwoo almost wanted to give him a big white eye. But I also know in my heart that what he said is not unreasonable. After she and Yuzi entered the demon family, it seemed that the whole demon family knew their existence. This kind of feeling of being looked down on is really bad. It's not impossible. 9U smell speech, but smile not smile of answer such a sentence. You mean they'll come by themselves? When? The Cloud dances, the eyes are bright. There is still half a month to go before the so-called full moon. During this period, maybe we can see if we can revive the little potato first. However, 9U at this time but put the eyes on the little fat girl. When the child wakes up, is when they come. Finish saying these words, 9U suddenly get up. But when he looked at the Cloud dance, he sighed without any disguise and then got up and left the pavilion. What does he mean by looking at her and sighing? Yunwoo wanted to follow, but he raised his hand to signal not to follow. So the Cloud dance standing in the pavilion can only frown and watch the Joyo leave. When the kids wake up, they'll come to the door by themselves. What do you mean? After Cloud dance frowns and murmurs, she can't help looking down at the child in her arms. Her melancholy and hesitating heart suddenly settles down. Forget it, no matter what you come, you can do it at that time. But as long as she's there, she won't let anyone hurt her child. The brilliance of maternal love, at this moment, seems to diffuse in her body. Yuzi Gui, who has been waiting at the entrance of the front hall, has been waiting for quite a long time, but there is no news from the people inside. He is inexplicably worried. However, they did not break in. Until, C9U slowly walk out, he just meet forward. Can't wait so long. As the Lord of Yuguishan, he seems to lack a little patience. 9U light smile of leisurely say. Jade's son return but still facial paralysis like indifference, just lift eyes of looked at him one eye, then over him, intend to find Cloud dance. Can just pass by 9U side, then hear a word and let his footsteps stop abruptly. You are doomed to survive. If you want to live, stay away from her. Maybe you can avoid some unnecessary sacrifice. 9U finish saying these words, then head also don't return of go forward, the figures slowly disappear in that piece of darkness. The Jade sun that leaves returns, all the time stops in the same place, don't know what to think. Fairyland. Since the crack of the seal of the demon clan has been opened in the woods outside the town, the whole fairyland has been surging up. There seems to be some obvious cracks in the light and dark systems, which are only superficially peaceful. Dark Cloud Palace. What about people? Didn't you follow him? How can people disappear out of thin air? Lien Ting's pretty face, which has always been harmless to people and animals, is now full of haze. The reason for this is the disappearance of the Dark Emperor. Yes. Since being outside that small town, the dragon has disappeared out of thin air. No matter how the court used the special power of the Dark Cloud Palace, it could not detect the trace of the Dark Emperor at all. If it wasn't for the Dark Emperor, there was only one reason. The Dark Emperor had a way to shield their Dark Cloud Palace. If so, it can only show that he has no amnesia. For a Dark Emperor who still has the memory of the past, people in Dark Cloud Palace know what it stands for. Look at the Ming Emperor of Yuguishan at the beginning. It's the best specimen. Unexpectedly, they spent so much effort and means in the Dark Cloud Palace. In the end, they were fooled. Every time I think of this, Lian Ting can't keep the mask, and the angry atmosphere almost fills the whole hall. Get out of here, all of you. I'll give you a month. If you haven't got people back, I'll let you try to go to hell. The roar of rage rang out in the hall. Then, several disciples came out of the hall, their faces were very ugly. On the other side, Yuguishan. Because of the disappearance of Yuzigi was not very calm up and down, especially since the four elders came back from outside, their faces were extremely ugly. There seems to be something else hidden. However, soon, the four elders found that the statue of the beast in the Cloud Hall seemed to have changed. Then, in the case of the disappearance of the Patriarch, another big event was added. There's something wrong with the guardian beast statue. At that time, the atmosphere of light and dark in the fairyland began to change a lot. However, what changes did not affect the elf forest between the two factions. Fairy forest. A black figure has been chasing another figure. No one stop, just like that has been in the complex and mysterious spirit forest interspersed chase. But that person does not know others, is precisely the dragon to pour evil. And the one who took away the young master. Before the crack of the seal of the demons outside the small town was reopened, it was sealed again. After that, the knight was almost killed in the rage of the dragon. However, in the end, a mysterious man appeared to rescue him. And Dragon Qing Xia was also affected by the huge explosion, and his body suffered a certain amount of damage. But the thought of Yunwu being involved in the demons, his inner anxiety will torture him crazy. He wants to break the seal again, but the knight has been saved. When he was about to lose his mind, he suddenly felt a very special force. And that power, just as his power repels and attracts each other. Instinctively, before those people from Dark Cloud Palace came, he entered the mysterious elf forest which was scrutinized by the world. Following his intuition, he found the spirit, who is the Emperor of Ming. The Dark Emperor and the Ming Emperor are two extreme identities. However, both of them are reluctant to become the so-called emperors. Even though they hardly say a word after meeting each other, they both have a feeling that they are both reduced people. It was a scene of heroes cherishing heroes. But in Long Qingxie, she saw the child in her arms and broke it. Don't say what you haven't met, and don't say anything mysterious. Sometimes, it's strange to be close by blood. Even if it's just a glance, it's like a moment of peace in my heart. That integrated his small appearance with Cloud Dance, the strange heartbeat rising when he saw the child. He was very sure that was his son. Before being inhaled, Yunwu asks him to find his son. Towering trees, thorny green plants, and the unknown green vines. This is a secluded fairyland. However, at this time was the accident into the two figures to destroy the peace. I said, what are you after me for? Charmed that naturally lazy-like line of sight, in finally being chased out of breath and had no choice but to stop, looked at not far behind the same stop-breathing Dragon Qing evil. This man, from his breath, makes him feel a familiar attraction. In fact, the charm also guessed his origin. However, Ben was quite peaceful at the beginning. Why did he chase him like he wanted to fight or kill? On the handsome face of Long Qingxie, he looked a little ugly as he held the child at will. A dark breath looms, as if it is trying to endure something. How did you get the baby in your arms? In a word, let the charm slightly aleng. Then, he suddenly slightly lowered his head, glanced at the baby who was obviously sleeping, well, in his arms, and raised his eyebrows. You mean him? Compared with the young master in his arms. Long Qingxie frowned tightly and nodded. Charming, just lazy general mouth, this seems to have nothing to do with you. Lord Dark. The title of Dark Emperor seems to make May feel very interesting. After all, for more than 300 years, he had never heard of the existence of the Dark Emperor in the Dark Department. Of course, later he heard that when the Dark Emperor was born, he was also a little curious about him. One Ming Emperor, one Dark Emperor. Two in the same opposite position, how can he not feel curious? What's more, he wants to see a person who can make Yu Guishan alert. After Long Qingxie heard of it, there was a strange flash in his deep black eyes. However, he did not avoid looking directly at him. It doesn't matter. It's not up to you, is it? The Emperor of Ming, Yu Guishan Long Qingxie has always been a wise man. From his strange feeling to himself before, and from the moment he told us that he was the Dark Emperor, he roughly guessed his identity. 300 years ago, Emperor Ming suddenly disappeared, which made the Dark Cloud Palace want to wash away his memory. But to tell you the truth, none of them ever thought that one day, the two emperors, who used to fight with each other, would meet under such circumstances. I don't know if it's fate. Or doomed fate. The child is in my hands now. Is it too shameful for you to say that? Charm is no longer running, on the side of a huge tree to rest. However, his deep eyes have been staring at Long Qingxie. It seems that as long as he has any changes, he can react at the fastest time. I'll make you a deal. Long Qingxie also leans in front of a tree trunk, his eyes also stare at him tightly. Deal? Charming pick eyebrow, seems to be some accident. What are you going to trade with me? Come on, if it's interesting, maybe I can think about it. Charm doesn't seem to be averse to dragon. Compared with Long Qingxie, he is not hostile to the charm. However, if the child is in his hands, it can only show that Yunwu will have something like that, and it must have something to do with him. But for today's sake, he wants his children back first. If you want to get Jade back, I can help you. Dragon Qing Evil is also light but indifferent mouth said. Charming classical Chinese, Mei Feng is a pick, quite interested in help me. How can you help me? As long as the deal is done, you'll know. Long Qingxie didn't make it very clear. In this way, there seems to be more suspense. Indeed, Charm's interest seems to have increased. However, it is not a brainless promise, but looking at him and asking, what's your condition? Child, the child in your arms. Long Qingxie said directly. And the look in his arms did not hide. Children. But Mei Wenyan hesitated, looked down at the young master in his arms, and fell into some kind of meditation. Half a ring. This condition is not good. If you change it, maybe I can consider it. Enchantment lifts Mao to sea to dragon to poor evil of refuse. Long Qingxie frowned and his eyes sank slightly. Why can't that child? I need him to get something back from his mother. Charm said at the same time, seems to be very soft like hand touched the child's small face. Pink dudu, tender, children are so lovely. After touching the charm, it seems to feel quite enjoyable, and then touched a few times. But it seems that I didn't find that Long Qingxie's face was not very good looking. Damn it! Is that man teasing his son? The anger in my heart, which I had been holding back for a long time, seemed to be irresistible. My body was strange and flashed away at a very fast speed. However, at the moment when he was about to approach, the charming figure disappeared in the same place. I said, isn't your patience too weak? Can't help it for such a short time. Twinkling of an eye appeared in the other side of the charm, that lazy and handsome face, seems to raise a smile. However, the meaning of the smile is a little puzzling. The gloom of Long Qingxie's eyes became more and more intense, and it seemed that he would fight again in the next second. But did not think that the voice again. I advise you that you'd better use less of the power in your body, the power of the Dark Emperor of the Dark Faction. To put it better, it's to make you extremely powerful and noble in front of the Dark Faction. But you don't seem to know that the power comes from the purest darkness. Every time you use it, it will refine your soul and make you more and more dark, in the end, you will become the real emperor from the soul to the outside. As the Dark Cloud Palace Hope's charm did not know why he would remind him, but he did see his own shadow from him. You don't have to say anything. I know that you want my baby back, because he's your son, isn't he? She looked at him with a smile. On the contrary, it made Long Qingxie a little confused. How would he know? It seems to see the emotional change of Long Qingxie. After looking down at the young master with a smile, he looked up at him and explained, he looks like you. I'm not blind. What's more, I've seen it in the memory of Cloud Dance. I know the relationship between you and her. Hearing that he mentioned Cloud Dance, Long Qing's evil spirit was ugly, but he also endured his inner annoyance. What's the matter with you and her? Dragon Qingxie stares at that evil spirit to ask away. He can see the memory of Yunwu, which means that it is Yunwu's own wish. But why does he want to take away Yunwu's children? Charm smells speech, that has always been in different eyes in the emergence of a faint smile, it seems to think of something funny, not anxious to answer the Dragon Qing evil. This makes the original mood is not very good. Dragon Qing evil mood is more depressed. You want to sell what pass? Nothing, just want to see some pictures from the Cloud Dance memory and feel funny. Charm seems not afraid of the world chaos like said. As soon as the dragon's evil mouth drew, his eyes sank slightly. You. Okay, let's not talk about that funny thing. Let's talk about how to deal. The evil spirit interrupts the words that Long Qing evil wants to say. I'm not very satisfied with the conditions you just said. After all, what I need is too important. You just can't help me to return the child to you. Magic said at the same time staring at the dragon. Poor evil. It's obvious that he just wanted to help his children back. He suffered too much. In fact, Long Qingxie really wants to take back the child directly, but what Mei said just now makes him feel worried. If you really use too much of the power of darkness to blacken yourself, you can imagine the consequences. However, this man is too much. The child is his, he uses the child to talk to him. But at this time, the dragon can only be passive. If you have any conditions, just say it. Don't waste each other's time. Charming pick eyebrows, raised the corner of the mouth, looked at the dragon with a smile, as if a burst of fun like, before the conditions, I actually have a thing quite curious. Curious? Long Qingxie frowned. Mei continued, according to my understanding of the Dark Cloud Palace for hundreds of years, they should clear your memory before they wake up your dark power. But I don't think you are losing your memory at all. Hearing the words, Long Qingxie looked at him and asked, it's better to tell you how you didn't delete your memory at the beginning. You really don't want to lose anything. Forget it, I'm just curious. The charm is speechless. Long Qing evil cold glance, say, what condition? I want you to work with me to open the seal of the demons. Charm convergence from face that lazy, with serious cold voice said. The seal of the demons? Dragon Qing evil smell words, eyes a different color flash, then, the corner of the mouth radiant evil 4 General Yang up. For the first time, I felt the charm in front of me was very pleasing to the eye. If that's the only condition, I'd be happy to cooperate. Yunwu was inhaled into the crack of the seal of the demon clan. He wanted to break the seal and save her. I didn't expect that this charm had been in such a big circle for this condition. Isn't that right? The evil spirit seems to have never thought that Long Qing evil readily agreed, so that length for a while. It took a while to recover. That pair of deep eyes with a trace of strong curiosity, staring straight at the dragon Qingxie, don't you worry about the consequences after opening the seal? From the memory of Yunwu, what he saw was not the scene that he and Yunwu and their so-called partners fought hard to attack the Beast Gate and protect the human world. What's wrong with being so ready to promise now? Not protecting the human world. Not going to be a big hero. However, he did not know that the so-called idea of saving mankind was only his own wishful thinking. At the beginning, the reason why they would unite with all the people to destroy the Beast Gate was that they entangled too many factors. If it's just for the so-called saving the world, I'm afraid they won't be interested in sacrificing so much even if they are full. So, for the charm of that problem, Dragon Qing evil just light white, he looked, don't worry. The only thing that worries him is Yunwu and Shi, which is the most unforgettable thing in his life. As for the crisis after the seal of the demon clan is untied, it seems that the so-called fairyland should be a headache. For this fairyland, to tell you the truth, Dragon Qing Xie didn't like half a silk. In order to achieve their own goals, these so-called cultivators not only forcibly brought him on the eve of his wedding, but also delusionally cleaned his memory. That kind of completely mandatory behavior, as long as the individual will never have a good impression. Charm heard the answer, but satisfied with the mouth. It seems that our goals are all in line. In that case, the deal will be easy to cooperate. Can I have the baby now? Long Qingxie holds his chest with both hands and stares at him. The charm looked down at the baby in her arms, but she didn't hesitate for long. Then she brushed her hand and sent the baby in her arms to Long Qingxie. Haven't waited for the dragon to pour evil hand to take over, the evil spirit but said again, let the dragon pour evil stiffly under just stretched out hand. He is the son of light, and you are the dark emperor. They are mutually exclusive. My advice to you is that if it's for his good, it's better to touch less. Son of light. There was a flash of surprise in the depths of Long Qingxie's eyes, but more of it was dignified. He also heard about the Son of Light in the Dark Cloud Palace. He said that the Son of Light was born in the holy spring of Yuguishan, which has the purest holy power of light. Unexpectedly, the Son of Light was his son. However, the dark force on him now seems to be eroding the bright breath from the child. Originally, I thought it was from the charm. Now it seems that it comes from the breath of children themselves. For a moment, Long Qingxie did not dare to reach out to hold the child, but when he looked at his son in front of him but could not touch the taste, it really made Long Qingxie uncomfortable. The child is too young. Just give him a little time to grow up. When he can control his own awakening power, the dark power on you will not hurt him so easily. The evil spirit looks at the dragon to pour evil to say. As for whether what he said is true or not, no one really knows. Long Qingxie didn't speak, just quietly looking at the sleeping child. Like him, but also has the shadow of cloud dance. This is him and her baby. Looking at, a corner of my heart seems to soften down. For the first time, he has a kind of love that wants to hold him in his hand, but is afraid of melting. Hand gently touched the pink face. Unexpectedly, the young master's sleeping face suddenly wrinkled, as if he was suffering from discomfort. Hazy open big eyes, flat up a small mouth. Shoo. The smell of your body will make him uncomfortable. Just have a look. If you wake up this little ancestor, you will be coaxed. The evil spirit is worried that the dragon will wake up the child. As soon as he flicks his hand, the child floats in front of him. Then see him with a soft bright breath light group will open dim eyes of the little master. Maybe I felt comfortable. After shaking a few times, the young master went to sleep again. And Dragon Qing Xie has been quietly watching this scene. Found that this charm with children's technique is very familiar, seems to have done such a thing countless times. Suddenly in the heart quite sour, some blush. That's his son. He hasn't even hugged him. Why is this man more familiar and intimate than his father? Perhaps see Dragon Qing evil at this time of mood, charm actually feel good mood up, that has always been cold face a little more soft. Of course, that touch of emotion is not suitable for him who is full of lazy temperament. However, there is no one else here, so we don't have to care about so much. You love her. The evil spirit suddenly looked at the dragon to pour evil to ask such a sentence. Dragon Qing evil smell speech, but did not answer, however, because think of cloud dance and raised the corner of the mouth, it is obvious. Sometimes, love is not spoken. Seeing this, he fell into some kind of meditation, like some memories that he deliberately gave to dust. Once upon a time, he was just like the man in front of him. There is such a love in my heart. However, this kind of mood, but quickly convergence up, and has always been lazy and indifferent to restore. What's my son's name? Long Qingxie was too lazy to think about what he thought and asked himself what he wanted to know. It seems that it's only 2 or 3 months to look at the child. That's the time when he suddenly sensed something different after he just woke up. At that time, it was the time for Yunwu to have a baby, wasn't it? Often think of their own women have children, but they are not around to spend with her. The heart is a burst of guilt. The son of light, it must not be so easy to be born. Although we do not know the situation at that time, it is not difficult to imagine that it is not simple. In fact, the arrival of the child is beyond Long Qingxie's expectation, but it also connects him with Yunwu from generation to generation. She hasn't taken the specific name yet. I guess she wants to wait for you, but I often hear her call him young master. Charm looked at the child said. But he guessed in his heart that when the woman called her children like this, it was just a nickname. It's too tasteless. It's a bit tasteless. However, looking at the man who suddenly laughed silly after hearing in front of him, the charm suddenly fell under the black line of his forehead. Is that necessary? How can ordinary people understand the comfort of Dragon's heart? He understood Yunwu's mind. It was because of this that he felt extremely happy. You use the power of your light to wrap a layer on the child. I'll hold the child. After the Long Qingxie restrained the silly smile, he immediately said to the spirit. Then he stepped forward and held the young master in his arms. As for the impolite command of Long Qingxie, Mei just frowned and didn't say much. She took a bright force as a protective shield to cover the child. In fact, the action of Long Qingxie, who finally holds the child in his arms, is very strange and makes the child uncomfortable. However, this moment is a very warm scene for the dragon. In the end, Mei didn't bother to see him, so he walked slowly towards the deep forest, and the dragon finally followed him. As for the cooperation between them, they must be very clear about each other. Needless to say, from this moment on, the two emperors, who made the two factions headache, but because of such a child, they embarked on the path of joining hands. The human world. After numerous attempts and methods, Nangong Yi and others finally confirmed this. Cloud Dance is no longer on the same empty level with them. Not in the human world, not in the upper world, that's only possible, that's the fairyland in the population. However, the entrance to the fairyland is not what these mortals can find. Don't time Nangong Yi and others directly on the target of the little stinky father. After all, he is the dark beast. Phoenix. At this time, the Phoenix family is not what it used to be. After being cleaned by the invasion of the Beast Gate, to the following series of long ago, at this time, the Phoenix is like a rebirth, becoming more powerful and noble existence. However, the Phoenix clan will always maintain the warmest and sincere welcome to Nangong Yi and others. What's more, the little stink who had been away from home for a long time also came back at the same time. All of a sudden, there was a lot of excitement in the Phoenix family. Mammy, don't do that. Take us to my father. We have something urgent. As soon as I was welcomed into the living room, I saw that the old lady who was serving Feng Huang was very busy and very happy. Little stink, now the body shape of a little boy has become the body shape of a handsome boy, and he is talking with an old and steady appearance. Seeing this, the old lady said respectfully and kindly, "Don't worry, young master. My uncle is still in the closed pass at this time. It may take a little time." Shut up again. Little Stinky frowned, as if he was a little depressed about his father's constant closeness. What about my mother? I came back today, why didn't I see his mother run out? In the past, when he came back, his mother would like to stick to her. Although Xiao Smelly knows that it may be because he spent too little time with her, he is still not used to being too intimate with people except Yunwu. However, it's strange that I didn't see his mother today. The old lady heard the speech, but she laughed strangely, but she still explained, "I'm closed with my uncle. I think it will take some time." Shut up again. Hearing this answer, little Stink is even more depressed. What's going on today? But Nangong Yi and others who have been on one side seem to guess something, and their faces are a little strange. Especially when Nangongji inadvertently prays for the knight's eyes, his face suddenly flashed a trace of embarrassment. Shangguan is the most careful person. How can he not find out? However, he just doesn't know. Meng Bai and Situ Lan looked at each other and shrugged their shoulders to show their ignorance. As for Hung Ling, Bai Shuer and Lan Yu, who are not human beings, their nerves are almost too thick to exist in some aspects. Of course, the embarrassment didn't last long. I heard 2 footsteps coming from the door, one of which was obviously faster. Son, why did you all let someone inform you when you came? People have not yet arrived at the door, but the voice has come from the door. When Nangong Yi and others turn to look, they see Feng Huangvan Red, who comes in from the door in a hurry. What followed her was the dark beast Wei. Compared with Feng Huang's missing for her son, Wei seems more calm. In fact, Xiao Smelly is really afraid of his mother's enthusiasm, which makes him feel that he is not very nice in front of Nangong Yi and others. But Feng Huang has always been very popular. Naturally, no matter whether her son is nice or not, she wants to kiss him on the head with a big hug. If it is not small stink quickly back, Wei step forward of hand block, that kiss is afraid to really fall. Wei looked at his woman calmly for the first time and said in a low voice, "Don't kiss other men casually. Don't you forget what I said?" Feng Huang smell speech, directly throw him a white eye, denounce, "That is my son." This man is really more and more male chauvinism. Even my son's vinegar. That's a man, too, and he's grown up. Wei has no consciousness of being a father, that is, he does not like his wife to kiss anyone but him. He's only a few years old. You really think he's as big as his phantom figure? I don't care. No way, you. Seeing that his mother and father would quarrel for him again, little Stinky said he was very helpless and interrupted, "Okay, mother, I'm really grown up. How can you let me ask for my daughter-in-law in the future?" It's the most effective sentence I know from my experience. I saw that Feng Huang really didn't go on. However, a pair of Feng's eyes just peeped at their father and son, feeling depressed. Isn't she just too moistened recently, a little womanized and miss her son too much? How can it prevent her son from marrying a daughter-in-law in the future? When Wei saw that his son was so knowledgeable, he was in a slightly better mood. Glancing at Nangong Yi, who is next to Xiaoqiu, "I know that they are here for something. What can I do for you when you come here this time?" When he was accompanied by his wife and children today, he naturally did not forget whose great kindness he was. For Nangong Yi and others, he is sincerely grateful. But he never said it, and even kept his unique cool. "This time we're here to ask you, do you know anything about the entrance to Fairyland?" Nangongji first asked. However, once the words fell, the scene was silent. Wei seemed to be stunned, and then his expression changed a little. "Fairyland? What do you do at the entrance to Fairyland?" Feng Huang broke the silence first. Shangguan then said with a smile, "After this period of time, we know the whereabouts of Yunwu. If you know the entrance to Fairyland, please give us some advice." Cloud dance. Did she go to Fairyland at this time? Wei frowned. In fact, no one can be quite sure of this answer. However, in the year when Yunwu disappeared, they searched almost everywhere and got nothing. They didn't think it might be true until they were told by the mysterious man who suddenly appeared. But that degree of certainty is really less than 10%. It's not easy to get information. Even if it's only 10% possible, they want to try it. I just heard it was possible. When Wei Mei's head seems to be more wrinkled. Seeing Wei's expression, all the people on the scene look solemn. Is it hard to do it? Dad, just tell me if you know. Don't show that look. It's ugly. Little Stink frowned. Wei speechless looked at his son, which slowly converged too much emotion on his face. He looked up at Nangong Yi and others and said, "It's not difficult to enter the Fairyland, but you have to know that with your current talent and strength, you can't get through the entrance of Fairyland." "What are the conditions for that?" Xianzhen. Xianzhen. What's that? This question suddenly flashed through people's minds. Without waiting for them to ask, Wei continued, Xianzhen is not something that everyone can own. If you don't have Xianzhen, I suggest you don't enter. Otherwise, the only thing you get is the end of being crushed by the power of the border. Smash! Hearing that, everyone was stunned. It seemed that it was so serious. But can't we just give up Cloud Dance? With years of company and mutual support along the way, they are friends of life and death, as well as close relatives. If one of them is in trouble today, I'm afraid Yunwu will not give up any of them. How do we know if we have fairy roots? Asked the knight. At this time, Wei did not answer this question, but looked at Meng Bai. You should ask him this question, he knows better than me. Meng Bai. People's eyes turned to Meng Bai, who had never opened his mouth, and his eyes were full of doubts. Seeing this, Meng Bai sighed helplessly and said, I didn't mean to hide it. I do know something about the fairyland, but I just heard about it. I don't know anything about it. We didn't ask for a crime. You don't have to explain anything. Just tell us what happened to Xianzhen. Seeing Meng Bai's explanation, although they were full of doubts, they didn't doubt anything. When Meng Bai heard the words, he naturally understood their thoughts and was relieved. In fact, during this period of time, this team has given him a sense of belonging. If you really think he's hiding something that leads to disharmony in the team, he's really not willing to. Seeing that his companions didn't blame him, Meng Bai immediately said all he knew. The root of immortality depends on one's cultivation ability and immortality. It needs one's own chance. It's not something anyone wants to have. That's why people in the human world almost don't know the existence of immortality. Generally speaking, if you want to solidify the root of immortals, you need to reach a certain level of strength and then naturally understand it. However, when I was young, I went to a cave secretly. I overheard a degenerate cultivator say that if I want to solidify the root of immortals before I reach the level of strength, there is another way, that is, I need to purify the impurities in myself. However, I don't know the specific way. Meng Bai finished and looked at Wei. Wei then said, purification of body impurities may help you in the flame pool of the Phoenix clan, but the pain that people have to endure is not what ordinary people can bear. And even after successful purification, there is no guarantee that the immortal roots will be solidified. Feng Huangnu heard of the flame pool. She wanted to open her mouth, but before she opened her mouth, the big voice of Xiao Stench rang out. Flame pool. What do you say about the burning molten pool? Dad, isn't that murder? The flame pool is absolutely no problem for the phoenix of the Phoenix family, and even more conducive to cultivation. However, for the human body, it is really hell magma. Even if the cultivation is high, I'm afraid it's hard to endure. And if you can't get through it, you'll end up melting away. No, Dad, you're trying to find another way to go down the pool of fire. Don't you let them die. Mama disappeared. He was also very worried, but he could not let Nangong Yi die. Along the way, he accompanied Cloud Dance for the longest time, and he could see many things clearly. These partners, for Cloud Dance, share life and death. If you really want to enter the fairyland and let them die, I'm afraid that even if Cloud Dance comes back, it won't be happy. What's more, he is not willing to get along with so long, how to say also can have a little affection. When Wei heard his son's words, he was covered with black thread, and his mouth could not help smoking. You smelly boy, your father seems to want you to die. Cleaning impurities is not an ordinary way to wash tendons and marrow, but from the inside to the outside, from the inside to the soul, from the outside to the hair, otherwise everyone can have immortal roots. Phoenix reborn. It's just like this. Only when we get through it, can we have the following glory. Little smelly smell speech, immediately but can't find words. Because, his father seems to have some truth. But after hearing this, Nangong Yi and others naturally understood the meaning, so they thought for a while. But it didn't last long. Lord Darkness, I'd like to try if I can. Nangong Yi's gentle mouth. I'll try it too, Knight prayed, you've all tried, so I'll try, of course. Situlan said with a smile that he didn't care. Finally, even Meng Bai, Lan Yu, Hong Ling and Bai Shuer asked to have a try. Little Smelly saw this, naturally unwilling to lag behind, also straight shouting, I also want to try, I also want to try. But he ushered in his mother's chestnut, you have awakened the blood of the phoenix monster, and the flame pool is like a hot spring to you. You run to join in the fun. Is that so? Little Smelly speechless rubbed the head that rubbed to be hit by old mother, special depressed looked at oneself old mother. Wei looks at her son and smiles. Then he looks at Nangong Yi and other people. Unexpectedly, if you want to have a try, I will try my best to help you. However, you and the three of you can't go down because they are not flesh. He, with the three of them, naturally means Meng Bai, Bai Shuer, Lan Yu and Hong Ling. But after that, Wei looks at Lan Yu, but you can help. Lan Yu is the soul of ice, and the pool of flame is repulsive to him, but it is also antagonistic. Maybe, with his help, the chance will be greater. On the other side. The cloud dance, which has been in the dark for nearly half a month, is really boring. Ever since I entered the Jilyo house that day, I haven't stepped out. Therefore, during this period of time, Cloud Dance not only used its skills to heal the wounded, but also toured the whole mansion. To tell you the truth, it was okay at first, but the more I visited, the more I found that this place was really not inhabited. Flowers and trees are not vibrant green, but black withered color. The sky is black, the floor is black, even the air is black. Black slowly, even the mood has become dark. If it wasn't for the night pearls all over the mansion, this place would be like hell. Cloud Dance this period of time to live down, feels some to be crazy rhythm. This is not, today to catch 9U, immediately followed up. Hey, what are you running for? Seeing me is like seeing plague. Cloud Dance stares at him and reads a broken sentence. Perhaps since they know that they are relatives, and it seems that the blood relationship is quite close, it seems that the prevention of estrangement has faded a lot. Just, 9U but start intentionally or unintentionally evade her. In fact, Yunwoo knows that she is too bored at this time and always pesters him to find something for her to pass the time. It's just that he accidentally smashed a few of his beloved things and lost a few houses. Actually, I can't blame her. This place is dark. Sometimes I really don't notice the accident. Of course, whether Jilyo believes her innocence is unknown. In the face of Cloud Dance broken reed, 9U that handsome elegant face seems to smoke for a while, however, or quickly restore the original. He said with a smile, this is my own home. Why should I run? It's just that I didn't hear it. What's the matter with Yunwoo girl? For the name of Cloud Dance, it's not too intimate. Cloud Dance accepts this. Here 9U to her haha, Cloud Dance corner of the mouth a draw, back of the ear. If he is deaf, all the people in the world will be deaf. However, Yunwoo didn't want to pierce him when he looked like that. He pointed to the dark sky and said, how many days will it be to the full moon? Counting the days, she has been here for almost half a month. According to what he said before, it should be just these days. To be honest, Yunwoo is still worried about the fate of the children after all. After looking up at the sky, Jilyo pinches his fingers again. It's like a zhou ban xian. Yunwoo always feels that the gesture is deliberately mystifying. However, Yunwoo was right. As a matter of fact, it is impossible to be an emissary of the demons. It's just counting the day. He just needs to blink. It's like pinching your fingers and calculating. Well, there are still a few days to go. Don't worry. You'll see the full moon by then. 9U calculate for a long time, said such an unclear answer. How could Yunwoo not know that he was fooling him? He was a little angry. Jilyo, you are playing with me again, aren't you? In fact, this kind of cloud dance is the most energetic and dazzling. 9U see this, seems satisfied to continue to walk. Yunwoo is not willing to let him go and block the way like that. You explain clearly, how many days are there in the end? In the face of Cloud Dance's such questioning, 9U also just pick eyebrows, continue to walk around their own way. However, this time he went in the direction of the gate. Cloud Dance can only catch up, continue to say, I say, you a guard messenger, can you be a little more reliable? To be clear, my son will die. Besides, my son has been sleeping for more than 10 days. Is there any problem? For the little fat girls, can sleep, Yunwoo is very uneasy. Although I can feel that in her deep sleep, not only is she not half a silk weak, but her dark spiritual breath is more and more rich and pure. It's good for her. However, the more I found the purity of her dark breath, the more uneasy Cloud Dance became. Even if she knew that for her, who was born the son of darkness, absorbing energy like that would only be good for her, not bad. However, she was afraid that one day, just as Joyo said, she and her brother would never meet, and even if they met, they would die. Therefore, she will be more and more anxious to wait for the day of the full moon. She must see if the so-called Book of Heaven is irreversible, as Joyo said. 9U hear, the footstep didn't stop, but open mouth of reply way, won't, this you should oneself very clear, however, the child is also time to wake up, you return to the room to have a look. Is it time to wake up? Hearing that, Yunwoo frowned slightly and stared at Joyo walking in front of him. The last time you said that when the child woke up, it was the disciple of Yifeng Mountain who came here? Well, don't you see that I'm going to meet someone at the door now? 9U slant ahead, light smile of saw and eye her. Go back to your room, take care of the children, and come to the front hall with them for an hour. Finish saying these words, 9U didn't leave an opening mouth. Cloud brow deep lock, stop watching his back, that twinkled in the eyes of the stars a trace of meditation. Of course, Cloud Dance in the 9U figure disappeared at the end of the yard, also turned quickly toward his temporary room. This mansion is divided into east and west-south courtyard. In the east is Joyo residence, in the west is the residence of his bodyguards and attendants, and in the south is the so-called guest room. Cloud Dance is naturally arranged to the south courtyard. When Yunwoo came back to the south courtyard, she heard the chubby girl's voice, accompanied by crackling sound. What's going on? Yunwoo walks into his temporary house. It's just that as soon as the front foot enters, the back foot comes out. Bang! A vase just happened to fall on the place where Yunwoo just started, and the fragments scattered. Bad guy. Noa's childish voice comes with a breath of breath. Then, what's the sound of being smashed? Cloud Dance after dodging that smashes the vase, also quickly stepped into the room. However, at this time, the luxury house, which was originally decorated with luxury, can't be described as messy. It's like a dump. Not only were the vases and jades broken, but even the tiles on the roof seemed to have been punctured and smashed down. Not to mention the tables and chairs in the house. Broken at this time, in this garbage-like battlefield, a 4 or 5-year-old girl, floating in the air, hands pinching waist like staring at the other side of Yuzi. Yuzi didn't feel embarrassed, but he looked at the little fat girl in the air like a headache. Come down, don't fall. Yuzigi repeated this sentence again. But the little fat girl didn't seem to appreciate it. She raised her head and hummed, bad guy. These 2 words again. At present, she only talks about mom, villain, and so on. For Yuzigi, in her memory, it was just the villain who not only wanted to catch her mother and brother, but also wanted to kill her. In her heart, she just hated him. So, when she opened her eyes, the first thing was to kill him. But even if she has a lot of energy in her body seems to have grown up suddenly. But after all, her mind is still a little child, and her control ability is 0. So, how also can't hit that dodging villain? See that villain still want to hold her, she won't let. He not only floats himself in the air and doesn't let him touch, but also waves all the things that can be used in the room and kills him. It's just that it doesn't seem to work very well. So this is how Yunwoo saw the battlefield. Little fat girl. After seeing the mess all over the room, he looked up at the 4 or 5-year-old girl in the air. When the little girl heard her mother's voice, she suddenly turned around, then her mouth was flat, and her small body in mid-air flew to the clouds. Mom, Woo-woo the villain is very big. As soon as the little fat girl jumped into Yunwoo's arms, she was tearful. She turned her head and pointed to the direction of Yuzi's return. As for the big meaning behind the villain, Yunwoo didn't understand. However, it is roughly guessed. She should have said that Yuzigi was the villain who wanted to catch them and kill them. Yuzigi didn't speak again when he watched Yunwoo appear. Just, in the face of the little fat girl's cry, with the blame, he seems to have a trace of helplessness with a wry smile. It seems to be like retribution. Yunwoo quietly listens to a series of big complaints from little fat girl before finally digesting the fact that her daughter has suddenly grown up during this period. Is it because it absorbs too much energy? However, in any case, this is her daughter. It seems that it is not bad for her daughter to grow up quickly. Cloud Dance think through, gentle a smile of rub her that small head. When you are angry, you can't destroy other people's house like this. Wait a minute, follow your mother to apologize to the host's house. As for the bad guy in her mouth, Yunwoo didn't plan to answer. For Yuzigi, Yunwoo, to tell you the truth, has no favor, but also has no hatred like before. That's it. A strange but familiar position. Little fat girl heard that Yunwoo didn't plan to beat the villain, and asked her to sleep with someone to apologize. She was a little stuffy. Little Cherry pouted and snorted. It seems to indicate her dissatisfaction. Cloud Dance see this, suddenly some funny. This dead girl, is she losing her temper? However, when I looked at her angry face, I couldn't help thinking. This girl seems to be more and more like a dragon. The delicate skin and delicate facial features inherit the evil temperament of the dragon, which is beautiful and evil. Now this is the appearance of 4 or 5 years old. It's so evil. Cloud Dance suddenly feels very tired. In the future, which man should I find to be worthy of her daughter? However, the pride in the heart, but full of 10. What perfect genes. However, looking at the little fat girl, she can't help but think of her son who was carried away by the charm. Now I don't know what happened to my son. I don't know. Is he okay? Did you go to find your son? Can you find it? A series of worries surround me. Little fat girl sees her mother's mood suddenly seems to be down, and her small eyebrows are wrinkled. Does she make her mother angry? Think about it, little fat girl still thinks that bad guys can kill him in the future. Now it's better to coax mom first. Mom, big bow. The little fat girl reached out and touched Yunwoo's head, said something big, and then leaned down to give her a boo on her forehead. That's really cute. Cloud Dance some flattered looking at his daughter, this is the first time since she was born to kiss her, heart soft to melt open. However, since she was born, she has been full of money for only a few months. This kind of warm picture, let Jade's son return to Sealing for a long time. This pair of mother and son, really let a person some cannot move an eye, but, he also understands, he is doomed to be unable to join in that warm picture. It's false not to lose in heart, but it doesn't show. Cloud Dance and the little fat girl coax, in a good mood, for Long Qingxie with son's worry also temporarily to pressure down. Looking at the room where he can't stay, Yunwoo plans to sit in the pavilion outside. Because that 9U, is to want her an hour later just take the little fat girl to the front hall. As for the reason, Yunwoo can guess more or less. Now that he has arranged it like that, Yunwoo won't dismantle his platform. An hour later. Cloud Dance has 5 or 6 years old with the size of the little fat girl, Bright appeared in the front hall. Why use Bright to describe? Well, naturally, I'm going to ask Joyo. Ben came to see that time had come, and Yunwoo was going to take the child directly, but many maids came out of nowhere. Carrying their mother's and daughter's clothes and accessories, I can't help but dress them up from the beginning to the end. All over the body, not only dressed beautifully, but also wearing a lot of glittering precious jewelry. Yunwoo was not happy, but the maid said it was necessary for Joyo. In the end, the beautiful mother and daughter appeared directly dressed as a lady. However, the jade sun that follows after death returns, did not change. Still dressed in white, plain and silent, try to think of yourself as a transparent person. Front office. At this time, several people were sitting in the hall. Looking at their clothes, they didn't seem to be partners. The clothes are all black. The totem is decorated with other colors. The style is slightly different. But as like as two peas, the dark breath is just the same. And the appearance of Cloud Dance and Little Fat Girl's completely bright color directly attracted everyone's attention. No way, not to mention the mother and daughter's appearance, that a shiny dress, enough to attract attention. Not to mention, the mother and daughter are so good-looking. Lord Joyo, who are these three? The first one who opened his mouth was a man sitting in the first position on the right side of Joyo. The man's appearance is not outstanding, but from his fierce eyes, we can see that this man is definitely not simple. If I'm right, they should be human beings who broke in from the outside some time ago. This time, the man who opened his mouth was sitting in the first position on the left side of Joyo. This man is pretty, and he looks very gentle. However, from his calculating and wise eyes, we can see that this man belongs to Chengfu. When other people heard about it, they were surprised and looked at it. As for the secret thoughts, they haven't been put out yet. Hearing the words of the representatives of the two groups, Joyo sat on the main seat and didn't speak, just put his feather fan with a smile. A pair of him is Zhuge Liang body-like, smile silent, strategizing look. Yunwu came in with a frown. Because, all of a sudden, she felt like a monkey. Of course, Yunwu was not a brainless person. Although she didn't like this situation, she didn't show her mood immediately. C9 You don't plan to open the rhythm of the mouth. Cloud Dance also didn't pay attention to those line of sight in the hall. Lead own daughter, automatically and spontaneously sit to one side of empty seat. Then the maid who was waiting on one side told me to send some tea. She also looked at the people in the hall. Although Yunwu didn't know how to distinguish the two groups of people, it seemed to know when he looked at the man in the third position below the right. The one on the right side should be Yefeng Mountain, while the one on the left side is estimated to be the one of the sect of demons. The man in the third position on the left is no one else. It is the so-called elder disciple, that is, the man who was tied up by the demon sect that day and said that he would use it for hanging sacrifice. Of course, it's also what Joyo said, the one who can help revive Little Potato. It seems that the line of sight of Cloud Dance is attention to that man, and that man also looks at it. Two people's line of sight meet in midair. There is no spark of wind and rain. It seems that it is just a dark stagnant pool. It can't stand half a wave. To tell you the truth, Yunwu seldom sees people with such sight. On the contrary, the more like that, the more she felt that he had some ability. Lord Joyo, are you not going to introduce us? This is, the people on the other side of the demon sect suddenly spoke. Can let 9 You please come back of person, imagine no one is not curious. 9 You put a fan, looking at Cloud Dance smile, but some smile is too gentle, some people from goosebumps. Then, if he spoke, all the people present were stunned. She is my kindred, and her daughter is the son of darkness. When the two people on the scene finished digesting, the demon sect started a burst of inexplicable excitement, and his eyes immediately stared at the little fat girl. Son of the dark. The whole demon people are very clear about what the son of darkness means. As long as they can have the son of darkness, it's only a matter of time before they break the seal. Trapped in the whole ghost place for thousands of years, the days without the sun are as miserable as hell. They are eager to see sunshine, people and places with life. As for the selfishness they desire, naturally they have their own plans. However, compared with the eagerness of the evil sect, the Yifengshan sect was only surprised for a while, and then there was a dignified face. They have now adapted to the life here and don't want to break the seal and kill. The demons and the Terrans are doomed not to live in harmony. In that case, it's better to live like this. Without those greed, we can live more easily and happily. However, they also know that the appearance of the dark sun will certainly cause a lot of noise in the demons. Both factions, whether they are fighting or not, will look down on the dark sun. After all, the son of darkness is born for darkness. Demons are born to belong to the dark. And another thing that surprised them was that they heard Joyo say, "Are you of the same race?" What does the same race stand for? The origin of Joyo is mysterious. As we all know, it's the envoys of demons guarding the world. For the first time, I heard that their envoys were of the same race. However, Yunwoo's face darkened after hearing Joyo's words. What the hell is Joyo doing? I don't know, Lord Joyo, what are your plans for the future? The leader of the demon sect asked. At the same time, this issue has received a lot of attention. 9. You smell speech, that handsome face overflowed with a touch of gentle smile. Today people originally for the challenge of things. Although I don't want to talk about this issue for the time being, I'll just talk about it briefly. The son of darkness will be my successor. Heirs? What do you mean? All the people present were stunned by this. I've never heard of that. What successor does the guard have? The people on the side of the demon clan frown deeply and stare at Joyo. The son of darkness is the hope of the demon clan. Will this arrangement be unfair to our demon clan? 9. You seem not to be surprised to hear these words. The smile of Hook Lip deepened a few. Fair? Haha, master of the demon clan, have you forgotten that I represent the justice of the demon clan? As long as there are envoys guarding the world, justice will exist. Look, how nice it is. The first man sitting on the left is the leader of the demon sect, who appeared in the last closed door. This time, he was the only one who knew what kind of mentality he had. After all, last time Joyo not only took away the spy of Yifeng Mountain, but also took away Yunwoo in front of their clan. This kind of fair treatment, but let them break their teeth and swallow blood. Well said. Did Lord Joyo forget that he took away my prisoners in succession in my demon clan last time? The evil lord's face is not very good looking, and he speaks frankly. 9. You smell speech, smile not language, just that pair of deep black eyes in the drip left a trace of undercurrent, dark, unknown, mysterious. If the son of darkness can become the guardian messenger of the demons, this is our hope of the demons. I don't know why the lord of the demons reacted so much. At this time, the first man on the right was calm and handsome, in his early 30s, but he was the chief elder of Yifeng Mountain. The leader of Yifeng Mountain didn't come down this time. However, the presence of the chief elder shows the importance of this time. Bah, you old man, after your broken apprentice sneaks into our demon sect and steals our demon sect's defense, you come to challenge. You Yifeng Mountain sound decent, but in the end you are not mean. The master of the demon sect coldly glanced at the elder E on the opposite side. For the evil lord this too rude tone, the presence of people are used to. But the old man snorted coldly. What do you mean to be a member of your demon clan? At the beginning, your daughter fell in love with my disciple and forced him to go to your demon sect by despicable means. I haven't even settled with your shameless daughter. How can the style of the mountain gate be falsely accused by the demon sect? Especially he talked about his beloved apprentice. The old man's tone was very impolite. However, the lord of the demon sect turned red with anger. His daughter, even if she was not right, was also his darling. How could she let people scold her? You fart, my daughter will take a fancy to your worthless apprentice. Bah, I don't even want to waste space to be my son-in-law. Haha, nothing. I don't know who had the cheek to ask my apprentice to refine the rebirth pill. You are a shameless old man. No wonder you can have such a shameless daughter. The old man said that his mouth was very poisonous, which was really not in line with his handsome and decent temperament. But the cloud dance of watching the opera suddenly brightened. Rebirth pill? Is that old man's apprentice an alchemist? Although Yunwoo also knows a little about refining low-level pills, in fact, it only knows a little bit about the fur. The lord of the demon clan could not sit down at last, and stood up at a clapping table with a gloomy face. You old man, dare to scold my daughter again, okay? I'll tear your mouth now. Come on, you'll be a vegetarian." The old man was not willing to be outdone. He slapped the table and got up. The strong pressure on his body flashed faintly. The leaders on both sides stand up and fight with each other. Naturally, other people also stand up and fight with each other. For a moment, in the whole hall, in addition to Jilyo, there were only 3 cloud dancers left. To tell you the truth, seeing this scene, Yunwoo was very happy. At least, from such a dialogue, she probably saw that the 2 factions were not on the right track and contained each other. In the middle, there was the balance of Jilyo, the messenger guarding the world. In general, this is the best. See here, she also understood 9uy want her and little fat girl's so bright appearance, and in front of 2 people to say she and little fat girl's identity. In this way, it can not only serve as a deterrent, but also strengthen the containment of the 2 sides. The 9th tryst said that Yunwoo was a member of his family. It is estimated that they want to understand that as a guard messenger, he is not only one person, but also a member of his family behind him. In this way, those who have been secretly trying to kill him to start a war between the 2 factions, and who want to go beyond him to break the seal, will be able to be more restrained. I have to say that Jilyo is very smart. It seems that every step is in the early morning plan, which makes people feel terrible. However, if we really want to hold up the responsibility of the World Guard, we really need him to be so smart and terrible. See the atmosphere of the scene stretch strength to a degree. 9yu finally spoke. "Lord of the Devil, Elder E, in my big house, you should know the rules very well, and I hope you can give Jilyo a face." Gentle Light of Plain Mouth said, "The taste is not humble, but don't let others feel impolite. Jilyo knows how to keep a proper balance." Hearing this, the Lord and the old man understood that although they were not very angry with each other. As long as you are in Jilyo's mansion, no matter who you are, you need to abide by the rule that you can't do it. Otherwise, Jilyo can ignore the identity of the guard and kill him. What's more, Jilyo mansion is in a powerful border. When others enter the mansion, their own spiritual power will be automatically suppressed and can't be used. Therefore, even if the master of the demon sect quarreled with the old man so much that he didn't give face, he didn't really make a move. Hearing the words of Jilyo, the people on the scene were immediately quiet. For the sake of Lord Jilyo, I'll give you an old man." The demon lord snorted and sat down again. "The old man is also cold. Wait for the challenge of war, and then give you a good look at the color." Seeing that the old man sat down, other disciples who were still standing on the scene naturally sat down with him. At this time, Yunwoo knew it was time for her to stand up. "Cousin, what do you want me to do today with my daughter?" Cousin, a title, the achievement of the identity of the cousins. In fact, although the people in the witch clan are all of the same race, there are not too many blood relations between them. After all, as a race conforming to the destiny of heaven, every sorcerer has a mission after birth, and most of them go to other races to get married and have children. There are not many blood left. 9 You smell speech, a gentle smile, toward Cloud dance to wave, come up to accompany cousin to sit together, also let me hug my little niece. Cloud dance smile of lead little fat girl slowly walked up. As for the sight of others on the scene, if they don't see it. Nyo, come on, uncle hug. 9 You smile of toward small fat girl stretch out a hand, a face dotes on drown. Little fat girl had some doubts on her face, but she turned her head and looked at her mother. She didn't object, so she let go of Yunwoo's hand and stepped forward. When Jilyo holds him on his lap, the little fat girl turns her head and says, Mom, what's your uncle? Can I have something to eat? He is so fragrant that he looks like a woman. This kind of words almost let the people present spray out. Yunwoo was going to sit next to Jilyo, but she didn't expect that because of her daughter's words, she almost sat on the ground. Isn't her girl not very good at speaking? Why is it so easy to speak? Why does Nyo feel that her cousin is as fragrant as a woman? Don't wait for Cloud dance to open mouth, 9 You smile of open mouth asked. However, from the curious expression on his face, he didn't look angry and ashamed. The little fat girl pursed her lips and said with a smart head, Mom is fragrant. As long as she is fragrant, she is a woman. After that, I want fragrant too. But my cousin is a man, and his body is fragrant. What should I do then? This question baffled the little fat girl. She tilted her head and thought hard for a long time before saying, after that, Uncle, don't take a bath. Cloud dance helps the forehead. 9 You but feel funny smile way, don't take a bath, Uncle body will become stinky, that nyo is want fragrant uncle after all? Or a smelly uncle? The little fat girl frowned and thought about it. At last, she could only look at Jiu sympathetically. It's better to be a mother's fragrant uncle. It stinks. Ha ha. Well, my uncle will be fragrant in the future. Is it comfortable to hold nyo like this after all? Jiu seems very happy and laughs. Although the little fat girl sympathizes, she seems to really like the breath of Jiu. All the people present were surprised to see this scene. It's the first time I've seen such Jiu. However, it makes Yunwoo quite speechless. What's so funny about such a dialogue? Oh, I don't understand. However, seeing that her daughter and Jiu seem to have a good chat, she won't interrupt. Just, wait a moment, must ask 9 little fat girl how can suddenly speak so neat. It's been half an hour. The boring conversation between the big and the small finally stopped. Well, 10 days later, I'll go with my niece to preside over the challenge of Yifeng Mountain. It's getting late. You can go back first. 9 at this time, seemed to just remember the presence of the public like opening to say. As for what stay to eat polite words, directly ignored. Although the demon master was dissatisfied, he would not show it in front of Yifeng Mountain. So he said goodbye and left with his disciples. The old man also got up to leave, ready to leave. Ilao, wait. When the old man is about to leave, Jiu suddenly opens his mouth. The old man turned his head and looked at Jiu, who was sitting on the throne with a little girl in his arms. Well, the last time I picked up my cousin from the demon sect, she was a little sick. I was wondering if I could ask your chief disciple to stay and help my cousin to have a look. The old man laughed and said, Lord Jiu is so polite. Junar's life was saved by Lord Jiu, not to mention helping his cousin to see a doctor. Even if you need his life, it's right. It's not that serious. It just needs some time. Since Ilao has agreed, let him stay here for a few days. I'll send him back to Yifeng Mountain in a few days. Please rest assured. 9 You say so, naturally have his consideration. After saying more polite words, Elder Yi left the chief disciple and left with him. Lu Jun, the name of the chief disciple. Lu Jun bowed respectfully to Jiu when he saw that all his teachers and younger martial brothers had left. Lu Jun didn't thank Lord Jiu for saving his life last time. Please don't blame him. You're welcome. 9 You brush a hand to smile away. Then he turned his head and looked at the cloud dance beside him. People stay for you. What to do behind depends on you. I took Nyo to dinner. Finish saying, also ignore Lu Jun, embrace the little fat girl's direction backyard and go. Lu Jun is not sure. Don't you mean to see a doctor? After seeing him off, Yunwoo got up and went to Lu Jun. I heard that you know how to revive. Rebirth? You mean rebirth pill? Lu Jun looks at this cousin of Jiu and frowns slightly. The last time he was in the demon sect, he saw her. However, did not expect, she unexpectedly is 9 adult's cousin. Yunwoo didn't beat around the bush either. He brushed his hand directly. After a purple light, he took out the little potato's body and put his hands in front of Lu Jun. Is there any way you can save it? Poor and strange. How can you have a poor baby? At the moment when he saw the little potato, Lu Jun was obviously stunned, but then he was inexplicably excited. He seems to have something to do with poverty. Seeing this, Yunwoo could not help frowning. Looking at Lu Jun, she asked, I got it by chance. However, listening to your tone, you seem to be familiar with Cheongchi. Lu Jun reached out to take Yunwoo's little potato. He was very careful, as if he was holding something very precious. Our family has something to do with poor Chi. We can even say that the blood of our family has something to do with poor Chi. The gentle movement shows Lu Jun's love for small potatoes. Yunwu was quite surprised after hearing the words, but then she thought about it, but there was no surprise. After all, she didn't have the blood of a saint. What else can't happen in this strange world? I don't know. Can you save it? This is what Cloud Dance is most concerned about. If it's someone else, within the prescribed time, Fusheng Dan can really be saved, just. Lu Jun frowned and stopped. Yunwu asked, but what? If you have anything to say, I will try my best to save it. I wonder if you've heard of the legend of poverty. Lu Jun did not answer the rhetorical question. Legend? I've only heard that Cheongqi is one of the 4 fierce beasts, but I don't know much about the others. In fact, the so-called legend of Shanhaijing has records of poor and strange. For the legend of poor and strange, it is one of the ferocious animals. They like to eat people, and especially like to eat just and kind people. Of course, as far as she knows, Little Potato is totally wrong. Therefore, Cloud Dance did not say too much. After all, Lu Jun said that his blood has something to do with poor Chi, so he must know more about poor Chi than she does. Indeed, in history, Cheongqi is one of the 4 evil beasts, representing the evil side. However, most of the legends in the world are made up by human beings themselves. In fact, although Cheongqi is known as one of the 4 evil beasts, it does not really divide into good and evil. And the good and evil of it all depend on the person with whom it is made. When Lu Jun said this, his eyes were obviously a little deep. That is to say, if the person with whom it is made is evil, then it will become evil? Cloud Dance frowned. She didn't think of that. Lu Jun nodded, yes, the poor are born with a keen sense. As long as it was born in contact with it, it will instinctively automatically choose to become the master, but it is because of this that the poor are calculated by the people who want to. Thousands of years ago, because of that, the poor and odd people suffered heavy losses from their own kind, and almost destroyed them. In the end, there were few poor and odd animals left. Moreover, the follow-up was because the poor and odd people were too difficult to reproduce and faced with the crisis of extermination. In desperation, the poor and strange beasts began to choose to reproduce from human beings. Unfortunately, they all failed in the end. However, although the reproduction failed, the human beings who had contact with the poor and strange beasts unexpectedly inherited some of the power of the poor and strange beasts. Said here, Lu Jun stopped, looked up at Yunwu. You are its master, then you should be able to feel a trace of strange from me? Different? Cloud Dance slightly lenged for a while, but then want to remember, the first time to see him in the heart of the inexplicable feeling. At first, she thought it was the cherry blossom totem on him that made her feel that it was not simple. You mean, your family was the poor beast in those days? Cloud Dance didn't go on. Yes, my family is exactly the family that had contact with the poor and strange animals. However, over the past 1,000 years, the power of the poor and strange animals has become weaker and weaker, but the affinity for the poor and strange animals has not decreased. I see. Cloud Dance clear nod, and did not speak, but waiting for his follow-up words. Lu Jun looked at the little potato in his hand and sighed, but with my ability now, there is no way to save it. Then who can? Yunwu caught another meaning in his words. Maybe only my grandfather can try it. In that case, we need to take it back to Yifeng Mountain. Lu Jun looks at Yunwu. Poor and strange cub, but has incomparable attraction to anyone. Would she like him to bring the poor baby back to Yifeng Mountain? After hearing this, Yunwu frowned slightly. She was not afraid that he would greedy the little potato, but she also recognized that once the little potato was known by others, she was afraid that it would lead to a bloodbath. But don't you save little potato for fear of causing trouble? No, we have to. At any cost. I'll give it to you, but you have to promise me to protect it. Yunwu looks at him seriously. Lu Jun was a little surprised. It seemed that she didn't expect that she would give the little potato to him without any doubt. However, from her eyes, he also saw that she had to save the heart of small potatoes. She is a companion and a friend to it. Well, you can rest assured that no matter what it is for, our family will do its best to save it. Thank you, don't mention it. If you want to say thank you, it should be our family's thanks to you. After all, if the poor and odd people were killed like that, it would be a great blow to our family. Lu Jun's last sentence Yunwu didn't understand clearly, but anyway, as long as the little potato can be saved, everything will be okay. Lu Jun finally did not stay in the mansion, but after Yunwu gave him the little potato, he immediately set out to return to Yifeng Mountain. Yuzigi was at the scene at that time, so he saw all the behaviors of Yunwu giving the little potato to him. To tell you the truth, he was surprised by the existence of poor animals. The power of the poor and strange beast can't be underestimated. Otherwise, in order to revive the poor and strange beast who had been dead for a long time, the people of Wanwoman would not have spared so many lives and blood. Of course, although Yuzigi was quite unexpected, there was no greed. It's just like that, keeping on one side silently, not saying, not doing, not leaving, just like that, always following behind the cloud dance to be a transparent person. When did this pattern begin? By the way, just arrived at the mansion that day, Joyo said those words to him. It seems that from that day on, he has been treating himself as transparent. If he can't speak, he can't move. Slowly, even Cloud Dance has to ignore his existence. However, Joyo has been watching. What I told you that day, do you have a clear idea? On this day, Joyo suddenly asked when he was passing by. Yuzigi stopped and watched Yunwu leave all the time. Then he turned his head and looked at him. Thinking and doing are two different things. You don't have to persuade me. I know how to do it. The origin of Joyo is more or less clear to him. 9. You smell speech, but just smile, that you plan to follow her so silently. You know, you have a lot of responsibility. Hee, big. 9. You adults who is not joking, the light department without me, will still be the same, Yuzigi said with a sneer. But did not think, 9. You is also inexplicable smile, seems to see what smile. To tell you the truth, that smile makes people feel uncomfortable. Yuzigi asked, what are you laughing at? Joyo looked at him, and there was a trace of undercurrent luster on his handsome face. Do you really think that the light system can still keep calm now? What do you mean? If I'm not wrong, the fairyland is not very quiet now, and the one that contributes to the fire comes from your so-called light system. Make it clear. Yuzigi frowned. Joyo turns around and looks at the dark sky inexplicably, as if seeing another world through the dark sky. Now in the fairyland, darkness and light are breaking the balance. Once the balance is really broken, the border that seals the demons will really open. At that time, you should know what the consequences will be. What? Aren't you a guard? As long as you are here, how can the seal of the demon clan be opened? Yuzigi's face was so solemn for the first time since he came to the demon family. Once the seal of the demon clan is opened, he can imagine the consequences. If the demons invade, the fairyland will be broken, and the upper boundary of the human world will be affected at the beginning. In order to seal the demons, he had heard of the efforts and costs of his ancestors. No way. The seal must not be opened. The price is too heavy. Although I am the guardian messenger of the demons, my existence can keep the seal of the demons from being destroyed, but I can't keep the seal of the fairyland on the other side. Joyo looks at him and says. Yuzigi's face was low and unsightly. You said this to me today, not just to tell me this, right? If there's anything I need to do, just say it. What I want is your cheerfulness. 9. You mysterious a smile way. What do you need me to do? Yuzigi continued to ask. Sacrifice your life for righteousness. Joyo stares at him. What do you mean? Come with me, and you'll understand. 9. You finish saying, turn round to walk toward another direction. Although Yuzigi hesitated, he didn't hesitate for long. He just turned his head and looked in the direction of Yunwu's leaving. Fairyland. There is a great war between the light and the dark that has never happened before. The place where the two factions are fighting is just the place where the two factions are separated. The critical intersection of the elves' forest. Haren's team, by the opposition of the two sides, but also against each other, imposing. Hand over our dark sun, otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. The leader is the Dark Cloud Palace of the Dark faction. However, in this team, it is the dragon standing on the top of a giant beast, holding a baby. A beautiful black robe, set off his incomparable evil spirit. Well, we haven't been rude to you yet, but you've made wild remarks first. Give us our sun of light, or we will raze your dark areas to the ground. This time, it's from the Guangming faction. However, also in the Haren team of the Guangming faction, a man in a white robe and a royal robe is extremely dazzling. This man, no one else, is the Ming Emperor of the Meiguang faction. The two emperors led the two factions, a direct conflict. The whole fairyland is in a state of agitation for this great war. Haha, razed to the ground. What a big tone. I'll see how you're going to raze us to the ground. There was a laugh in the dark faction. For a moment, the atmosphere was tense to a certain extent. In other words, today's confrontation between the two factions can be traced back to more than a month ago. More than a month ago. Both the Dark Emperor of the Dark faction and the Ming Emperor of the Bright faction returned to the Dark Cloud Palace with Yu Guishan on the same day. The return of the two emperors naturally made both parties happy. However, after the return of the two emperors, they both brought a piece of news to the Dark Cloud Palace and Yu Guishan, and that news was exactly the trigger of the war. Dark Cloud Palace, I learned that the Son of Darkness had been born long ago, but he was imprisoned by Yu Guishan. It is precisely because of the presence of the Son of Darkness that Long Qingxia lurks into Yugui Mountain and then disappears. The news naturally dispelled the suspicion of the Dark Cloud Palace. What's more, the dragon also brought back the Son of Light. This alone is enough to make Lianting look at him with new eyes. However, after the Son of Light came back, Long Qingxia didn't let go, but all the people were in his hands, and he was afraid that the little boy would run away. Therefore, even the court did not force anything. On the other side, Yu Guishan. After the return of the charm, he said that he had been hiding for many years, but he couldn't pass the pass in his heart. However, the Dark Emperor snatched the Son of Light from her hand. He was unconvinced and must snatch the Son of Light back. And he wants to use the power of the light system. This answer is enough to be accepted. Originally, the dark and the bright had been surging up in the dark. Now that the Ming Emperor returned, he said that he was willing to take the lead to take back the Son of the Bright. How can we not inspire people? In particular, the Son of Light is still on the side of the dark faction. No matter what the reason, this war must be fought. The Son of Light, we must get it back. Otherwise, once the Sons of Darkness are captured by the dark faction, their bright faction will be oppressed. So, for one reason or another, the two factions openly and justly launched their first frontal battle in thousands of years. We had a fight with them to welcome our Son of Light back. A chief disciple of Yuguishan said. Yes, fight. Fight. Waves of harmony made the old man Yu Guishan look more serious. The old men of Yuguishan are the leaders of this first battle. Elder, I think it's better to fight. As you can see, the Son of Light is in the hand of the Dark Emperor in the Dark Cloud Palace. Wait a minute, I'll rush forward to get the Son of Light back. Those who spoke were the three elders of Yuguishan. Everyone present knows what the Son of Light means to their bright faction. Slow down first, I feel something is wrong. Although the elder brought people here, he always felt as if he had forgotten something. However, I can't remember for a while. During this period of time, because of the disappearance of their patriarch and the problems of the sacred beasts in the temple, they have been very busy. After the return of the Ming Emperor, the secret situation suddenly developed into the Ming War. This war happened too quickly. What else? You see, where is our Son of Light? This time, our biggest goal is to get back the Son of Light. For Elder also can't help hastily agree. At this time, the second elder also said, "Yes, I think we have to fight. After all, the situation is too bad for us to step back. Once we step back, the dark faction will certainly take the opportunity to force us into the bright faction. In that case, our situation will become very passive." Hearing this, the elder who had hesitated could only compromise. In fact, he can't tolerate his intransigence now, but he still thinks that something important has been forgotten. "Forget it, I'd better get the Son of Light back first." "Good, go to war." A drink, then, changed into a sound spread the same sound. All of a sudden, the whole Howren team, just like a chicken's blood, set off a huge momentum. The battle started. On the other side of the dark faction, the battle horn sounded at the same time. For the first time in thousands of years, this frontal battle was launched. In fact, no one can take advantage of each other. Therefore, fighting on the battlefield, death and blood almost dyed the land red. In the elf forest, the elves, who were already in the middle of the two factions, gathered in a corner of the forest. The colorful, pretty and beautiful elves were pale when they heard the battle of the two factions outside. What to do? What should I do? How can they fight? Yes, what should we do? Our Spirit King is going to shut up again. What should we do now? If these two factions can't go to war, the seal will certainly be affected. What should we do? It's all the four old men's fault. Why should we shut up with our king at this time? Now we can't hold it down. The two factions are already at war. Come to think of something. What shall we do? There are tens of thousands of elves gathered together. They are colorful. They are very striking in the woods. But now among the elves, it's a mess. Without the leader Wang, it was obvious that they were in a panic. Oh, don't quarrel. Let's find a way to suppress the seal first. Otherwise, the seal will be broken soon. If the seal is broken, we elves will be severely punished. Yes, the water elves are right. Let's stop quarreling. Let's think about something first. A whole body red fire spirit, repeatedly shout. However, how can one's voice resist the noise of thousands of elves? What's more, now they are all in a state of panic. Now! Bang! A shaking sound came. Originally, the sound of chirping stopped in an instant. The sight of all the elves, with panic, looked to the outside world in the direction of the battle. What to do? The war between the two factions seems to be more serious than they thought. Fortunately, at this time, an old man's spirit flapped his wings and flew into the air. He said from the air, "Calm down, everyone. Can you listen to me? If Yunwu is here, he will find that this old man is no one else. It's the fairy old man of the first shop in Fengshe where she and Yuzi went back that day." The spirit old man's look was very dignified at this time, and his breath also brought up a trace of pressure. The current situation can be said to have threatened the life and death of our elves. We should all be very clear that our forest is the area where the seal of the demons is sealed, and the spiritual power of the areas on both sides of the light and the dark balances this area. Once the two factions mobilize a big wave of human resources to unite and fight, the seal will be broken automatically. That way, our home will disappear. Now, it's time to see us. Even if we are not for the common people in the world, we must stop this war for our homeland. The old elf pointed out the advantages and disadvantages directly. By saying that, not only can the older generation understand what they need to do now, but also the younger generation understand the stakes. Once the two factions fight again, the seal of the demons will be broken, so that the elves will lose their living place. In fact, the elves are here to guard the sealed land. Once the sealed land is opened, they may be met by extermination. Originally, the elves, who were still at a loss, seemed to have some order with the old elves. After all, the elves are a pure race. And they, for their home, can pay any price. Mr. Liu, how do you say we should stop it? After all, the fighting power of our elves is weak. Moreover, I heard that the dark faction has united the orcs. The orcs took part in this war. Yes, I've heard that the Guangming faction has also drawn in the Yuren. Although the Yuren suffer losses on land, the Yuren sound wave skill is still very frightening. We don't have a strong fighting capacity, nor the sonic wave power of lethality. What can we do to stop the war between the two factions? Yes, we elves have always been a peaceful race. We are asked to stop the war for a while. We really don't know what to do and what we can do. These are the real concerns of the elves. If they have the fighting power of orcs or the lethality of mermaids, they will not panic and become a mess. The old elf frowned deeply, and it was obvious that the words of the people made him fall into a bitter meditation. Half a ring. Well, since everything has come to this point, I can't hide it anymore. The old elf seems to have made up his mind. In the eyes of many people, he cleared his throat, and his face was solemn and dignified. You should know that the elven forest we live in now is actually the area where the demons are sealed, but you may not know that our elves actually have strong fighting power, but... Just what? Mr. Liu, just say it. Seeing that the old elven man wanted to stop talking, the elven people were obviously impatient. After all, the current situation will not take long. The old elf sighed. Originally, our king was qualified to say this, but now the king is closed, and the situation is facing such a crisis. I said that if we elves also need to have the fighting power comparable to the orcs, we need to open the forbidden area of our elves. As long as we can get back the original crystal of our elves from the forbidden area, I will be happy the elves can become war elves. War spirit. Is it the legendary war spirit? All the elves on the scene were shocked, and then they were all excited like chicken blood. Among the elves, the legend of fighting elves has been spreading all the time. It is said that there is a kind of war spirit in the elf family, which is the most noble and powerful spirit in the elf family, and also the most mysterious. It is said that thousands of years ago, in the battle of sealing the demons, the war elves took part in the battle, and at the most crucial moment, it was precisely because of the war elves that the demons could be completely sealed. It is also said that the war elves are actually the envoys of the Protoss, so they have mysterious and powerful power. That's why the fighting power of the elves is so weak, but they can still survive in the fairyland. Generally, no one will break into the elves' forest without permission. I thought it was just a legend. Unexpectedly, today I was told that I only need to get the crystal of origin in the forbidden area to become a war spirit. How can this not make people excited and excited? Looking at the excited emotion of the people, the old elf sighed helplessly, and he knew it would be like this. However, he said in a loud voice, "Don't get excited, listen to me first." Originally excited many elves, after hearing the sound, they can only endure the inner excitement and look up at the old elves in the air. It's not so easy to become a war spirit. You should know that opening the forbidden area of the spirit clan requires sacrifice. Moreover, on the way to the forbidden area to retrieve the original crystal, you will encounter the organs in the forbidden area, which also means sacrifice. Sacrifice is very dangerous for the elves who are difficult to breed. This is the reason why the elves have been forbidden to enter the forbidden area. Mr. Liu, if the seal is broken, we will sacrifice the whole family. A voice came from many of the people. Then, there are countless echoes. The old elf will tell this secret only when he knows the situation. However, opening the forbidden area requires at least 100 elves to be sacrificed, which must be voluntary. This is what he can't bear. Boom. All of a sudden, the crash of an earthquake came from far and near. Vaguely, it seems that we can still hear the roar of the beast, and the sharp sound wave roar of the mermaid clan. I'm afraid that the battle outside will become white hot. If this continues, the balance of the seal will be completely broken. Once the balance is broken, the seal will open automatically. Damn it! The old elf looks ugly. At this time, there is no time for him to hesitate. Okay, let's open the forbidden area. Another border. The dark sky is still silent. However, in a corner of the mansion, a faint light was shining in the dead darkness. 9 You lift Mao of looking at a side of Jade's sun return, light of say. Here is the only way to get back to the human world. The time I can open can only last for a quarter of an hour, and your chance is at this quarter of an hour. If you can't get back to the human world within this quarter of an hour, you will be broken by the cracks in space. Human world. Yuzi looked at the array on the ground and raised his eyes to Joyo. Joyo chuckled, yes, this gap can only lead to the human world, so if you successfully pass through the space crack, you need to rush back to the fairyland as soon as possible. I can feel that there is a big war in the fairyland now, and the seal of the fairyland has come to a great fluctuation. I'm afraid that it won't take much time, and the seal will be broken. If you don't want the tragedy to happen again, do your best to stop it. In the tone of Joyo, there is a trace of compassion for the first time. Can't you let her go back with me? Jade's son returned looking at Nine-Yu to ask away, the complexities in the eyes is very obvious. She, of course, is a cloud dance. Joyo shakes his head and looks at him seriously. What I told you last time, you should be very clear. For your own sake and for your life, you'd better keep a distance from her, otherwise. Later, Joyo didn't go on. But the meaning is very clear. Jade's son returned bitterly a stringent smile, you can really be direct, okay, I understand your meaning, so, please take good care of their mother and son, hope to have a chance to see again later. Better not have a chance to see you again. Nine-Yu hook lips to smile away. Next time, if we really see you again, it's probably when the seal is broken. Yuzuki looked at him and said nothing more. He stepped into the light array. Lord Joyo, send me back. With that, he couldn't help looking in a certain direction of the mansion, with a trace of bitterness in his eyes. Goodbye. Cloud dance. Nine-Yu see this, smile speechless, then, a black fog, see that array in the original light, suddenly dazzling up. A strong suction swept the space. Joyo's clothes were flying like the wind, but his tall figure did not move at all. He watched Yuzi Gui's figure disappear in the array. I hope you have time. This sentence, in a very low voice, seems to be just for myself. The dazzling light lasted for a short time. After Yuzuki disappeared, the light gradually disappeared. Finally, there are only faint traces of array left on the spot. If you don't look carefully, no one will notice that there is a gap connecting the human world in a small corner of the mansion. Come out. All of a sudden, Joyo's flat voice rang out. Turn ahead, that pair of deep black eyes looked to a corner with a smile. You're really sharp. Cloud danced that slender figure slowly from the corner out, is also a smile at Nine-Yu. However, then the sight fell on the faint array trace behind Joyo. Don't look, this gap is not suitable for you, and even if you want to try, you can only be yourself. Nyonyo's constitution can't pass. It means, if you really want to go, you have to leave the fat chick. With that, Joyo didn't wait for Yunwoo to say anything, so he turned and left in another corridor. It seemed that he didn't worry about what Yunwoo would do. Cloud dance really can't do anything. Silently to keep up with before and after, asked a low voice, you just said, Fairyland is now a war. Yes, Joyo didn't hide it. Cloud dance flashed a glimmer of hope, is it him? He, of course, refers to the dragon. And Joyo, the prophet, naturally understood who she said he was. The original pace of walking, suddenly stopped. Cloud dance see this, also stopped, just look up, quietly looking at him. Joyo didn't look back. After a pause, he continued to move forward. However, his voice was inexplicably low, yes. It's really him. She knew that he would find a way to save her. Yunwoo's heart is excited. I believe any woman will be excited at this moment. Cloud dance, you really don't feel guilty at all. Joyo suddenly turns his head and looks at Yunwoo deeply. The streamer in that pair of black eyes seems to cover too much meaning. Cloud dance see this, micro-leng after a while, then there is no cover up the corner of the mouth, inexplicable smile. Guilt? Why should I feel guilty? This sentence, Hua Xiao feels some impulse to laugh. Guilt? Why feel guilty? Just for the so-called common people? Or to break the so-called balance of fairyland? If it is for the sake of the common people, she will be worthy of the common people from the moment she destroyed the beast gate. If it's for the sake of the balance of fairyland, it's totally unnecessary. Sooner or later, this so-called balance war will enter into a new wash. It's just like the law, the principle of long division, and long division is the same. It's just that she is the one who provokes me to take a mysterious one. In that case, why should she feel guilty? Yunwoo has experienced a lot in her previous life, and in this life, she has experienced countless lives and deaths. From the moment when Bai Lao sacrificed her son to save them, she doesn't feel that she still owes anything to the world. To live is for herself, for her man, for her children. She doesn't accept the so-called high-sounding hats. Looking at the cloud dance that suddenly laughs, a doubt flashed in Joyo's eyes. Frowning, you. Joyo, don't regard me as the virgin. Even if I am the witch saint you said, it's just you who imposed it on me. Yunwoo intends to say what he wants to say. But Joyo looked at her deeply, as if he knew her for the first time. This is fate, and no one can change it. Well, I'll just say, I don't believe in fate. Yunwoo looks at him. Don't believe in fate? Nine, you smell speech, but smile. Cloud dance, I have not said, in your body I really see their own shadow before. Cloud danced for this sentence, and did not answer. Good, good. In that case, I'll let you see the book of heaven with your own eyes. Finish saying, Nine, you stretch out a hand to hold her wrist, take her a flash of disappear in situ. Shuttling through the dark night, the cloud dance is very calm. It's a full moon today. No. Nine, you simple return way. Then you told me before that I can only see the book of heaven at the full moon, is it false? So it is. Oh. In fact, after more than half a month, she guessed this. I just didn't expect that he would answer so directly. As for the back, Yunwoo said nothing more. About half an hour later, two figures finally stopped on a mountain. This peak is different from other places. The stones on the top of this peak are emitting a little light. Different night pearls are bright, but they contain a kind of strange aura. It's very special to have the bright spirit power in the demon clan, and this kind of bright spirit power still covers the whole mountain. Here, the demons can't get close, and the book of heaven is in this mountain. Joyo turns to look at her and explains. Cloud dance clear nod. Led by Joyo, you enter the entrance of a mountain. You can walk down the stairs from the entrance. Because of the light of the stone, Cloud dance can clearly see the situation around. Inside the cave, it is not as narrow as you can see outside. On the contrary, the deeper you go, the more spacious the surrounding space becomes. All the way to the bottom. The deeper you go, the heavier the pressure around you. It's like a kind of heavenly power, which makes people want to give in from the bottom of their heart. To this, Cloud Dance's brow couldn't help wrinkling. It seems that this so-called book of heaven is really not an ordinary thing. However, even if you feel that the pressure of Tianwei is more and more heavy, Yunwoo still follows. Don't resist in your heart, otherwise, you can't go to the book of heaven. Joyo turns to look at the cloud dance behind him and says. Although Yunwoo's face didn't change, the sweat on her forehead could tell that she was not feeling well at this time. It's not for you to submit to it, or for you to have a heart that resists it. It can sense it. Afraid Cloud Dance didn't understand, Nine Yu again remind to say. Cloud Dance heard, also try to relax themselves, empty mind, don't think of other. Not to mention, the original pressure on her, the force of heaven, lightened in an instant. However, listen to Nine Yu that words, how feel that day book with personal similar. But soon, Yunwoo saw the so-called book of heaven with his own eyes. Not to mention, the heavenly book was really beyond her expectation. At the end of the steps, a stone gate appeared. When the stone door is opened, there is a bright room inside, which is very spacious, but it has all kinds of furniture. But everything inside is pink. Pink stools and chairs, fans, curtains and tables. When Yunwoo just walked into Sherman, he thought he fell into some pink space. "Here you are, master." Suddenly, a very delicate voice sounded in the pink room. Cloud Dance looks along the voice, not from Aleng. It was a very pink little girl, about 7 or 8 years old, dressed in pink, round eyes, pure and incomparable, looking at the two people coming in from the stone gate. If it wasn't for what she just said, Yunwoo couldn't imagine that the little girl in front of her would be the so-called Book of Heaven. However, this kind of surprise Cloud Dance soon converged. After all, she was used to emotional introversion. Is she the Book of Heaven? Cloud Dance turns to see to the side of Nine. Ask. Joyo nodded and walked slowly to the little girl with a gentle smile. Her slender big hand caressed her hair lovingly. She is the Book of Heaven, the inheritance of the messengers of the past dynasties. She looks like a person. Yunwoo didn't feel any special breath from her. It was totally personal. Joyo didn't answer this question. On the contrary, the little girl raised her mouth and laughed. Her pink skin seemed to be able to squeeze out water. Her smile was so innocent and lovely. "I'm a real person." "What?" Yunwoo is a little surprised. "Really? But I'm also a Book of Heaven," the little girl added. The clouds dance speechless. Joyo seems to feel helpless about the little girl's little interest. After rubbing her head, she walks towards a big mirror in the room. Cloud Dance follows. And the little girl seems to be dissatisfied. "Master, can't you let me play a little more? It's boring." But she also obediently follows behind Nine. When walking to the mirror, Yunwoo finally understood the function of those mirrors. In the mirror, the little girl who was standing beside Joyo was floating in the air with a book with very old totem characters. That's what she is. Cloud Dance's pick eyebrows. Yes, the essence of the Book of Heaven. Joyo nodded. What are you telling me now? Are you really just showing me? Is there no other purpose? If it's conditional on her daughter, it's not negotiable. Joyo seemed to understand what she was thinking and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Joyo is a witch people. The witch people will only comply with the destiny and will not force people to inherit my position." Smell speech, Cloud Dance, but the brow can't help wrinkling. In fact, if she had a choice, she really didn't want to be a witch, too much of the so-called destiny. In that case, according to what I said last time, I want to see the so-called situation about my daughter in the Book of Heaven. Now that they are all here, Yunwoo will not be polite. Joyo turns to the little girl beside him and gives her a look, "Do as she says." With that, he did not stay in the room, turned and walked out of the room. Until Joyo left, the little girl turned her head and looked at Yunwoo. Nenen's voice became very serious. "Do you want to see your children?" "Yes, it's not the master of the Book of Heaven. If you want to read the Book of Heaven, you need to pay a certain price." "At what cost?" "Blood. I want a few drops of your blood." The little girl is direct, too. "What do you need my blood for?" Cloud Dance understand this question seems to be redundant, but still can't help asking. "The price." The little girl answered only 2 words. In the end, Yunwoo gave it. In any case, children are more important to her. Before you look at it, you need to know one thing: fate has been arranged for a long time, and no matter who it is, it can't be changed. So, after entering, you don't want to tamper with anything, otherwise, you will be responsible for the consequences. Yes, after Yunwoo nodded, the little girl's figure disappeared and turned into a book of the ancient totem words. "Open the Book of Heaven." A dazzling light instantly enveloped the whole house. Glass general light, with a very soft light, but as if with a trace of ruthless coldness. That light maintained for a long time, then faintly disappeared. After the light disappeared, the cloud dancing figure disappeared in the room. When the book is closed, the little girl's figure is transformed. The door, 9 tall figure slowly came in, eyes soft looking at the face is not very good little girl. "How are you?" "It's okay, but next time, master, can you stop making me do such thankless things?" Knowing that her fate is doomed, why should I send her to the future? It's exhausting. Little girl doodle mouth of say, small body float to sit. 9 You smell speech, fell into a burst of silence. Yes, he just promised to show her the situation of her children, but he just decided to send her to the future to see her whole fate. Why do you do this? In fact, 9 You also some think don't understand. Maybe it's what she said not long ago. Guilt? These 3 words, for his whole life, are so heavy. However, in her eyes, she could not see any trace at all. Some envy, at the same time some envy, with sympathy. How long has that complicated emotion not appeared? Joyo doesn't remember. However, this time the decision, I hope he can see some different effects. This life, too, it's boring. Master, I want to sleep. Then the little girl closed her eyes. Quietly sitting in the air, very quiet, very soft. Joyo didn't leave, just looked at her quietly. Looking at her small face with her outline, the heart that was as silent as death pool, inexplicably across a familiar pain. That pain, let him that always gentle handsome face appeared a crack. Just, that kind of crack, but was soon covered up by a kind of coldness. But that pair of deep eyes low depth, but still floating a trace should not have some emotional fluctuations. Hundreds of years. I thought that after hundreds of years, my memory of her should be almost consumed. But the fact is that in the years of grinding, memory not only does not wear away, but like wine general, more and more clear and rich. It's just that he has been hiding in the deepest part of his heart. He is waiting for one day, who can help him break that layer of oppression and release the deepest gap. Fairyland. Under the war, the smell of blood filled the sky. The blood flow of the dead and wounded almost disturbed the fairyland. Long Qingxie has been watching coldly. His deep black eyes are brewing some undercurrent, holding his son, quietly watching such a huge war. Almost. Not enough, the impact is not enough. On the other side, Mei also stands up against the wind, quietly looking at the battlefield, also calculating in his heart. According to the turbulence of this kind of war, it is still worse. The seal was sealed by the power of the Protoss, and it was suppressed by the spirit power of the elves. If you want to break through this seal, you are really missing something. Seems to be tacit understanding, standing on both sides of the end of the 2 emperors, but at the same time looked at each other. It was so far apart that only a faint black spot could be seen. However, the 2 seemed to have a connection unknown to others. Almost. It's a little short. 2 people's minds at the same time sounded a sentence, but the same meaning. What can you do? Dragon Qing evil holding his son, quietly watching the war, but the mind is silent asked. The evil spirit glared at the battlefield, with no expression on his face, and said in the same silent way, no way, now all those who can stir up are stirred up, unless the elves can leave the elves' forest. Can we move the battlefield? Long Qingxie asked. No, you haven't been in the elf forest. It's the center of the seal. We can't get close to it. Mei said, pausing for a moment and then continued, but maybe we can lead them out. How to lead? The elves will definitely stop the war between our 2 factions. If my investigation is correct, in order to stop our war, the elves will open the forbidden area and become the fighting elves with the power of crystal. The war spirit has a strong fighting capacity, and can fly in the air, and has a great advantage in the sky. As long as we cooperate with each other at that time, we can temporarily hold the war spirit down. Yes, in this way, the 2 emperors made arrangements for the follow-up during the fighting between the 2 sides. The turmoil in the fairyland has also brought great changes to the human world. Dense clouds and heavy rain for several days have led to floods in many places. In some places, the sun is scorching, the vegetation is dry and the ground is cracked. Natural and man-made disasters. This has had a great impact on the human world. Yuziki, who has passed through the cracks and entered the human world, is back in the cracks of the earthquake. In his confusion, he also saw the disaster of the human world. How could it be so serious? Yuzuki's robes were not clean, but were charred and damaged by lightning. 3 days of space transmission, in which the crisis suffered only his own clear. Fortunately, the crisis can always be resolved. However, as soon as he entered the human world, he was faced with the disasters suffered by the human world. Yuzuki's mood was very complicated. He knew that it was the Battle of Fairyland that caused such turbulence and natural disasters in the human world. But he didn't have time to pity the common people. After joining the world, he quickly set out for the journey to the upper world. He came back to stop the war. Only when the Battle of Fairyland is over and the seal of the demon clan is not broken, can the human world return to a peaceful life. Otherwise, the human world, the upper world and the fairyland are afraid that there will be no peace from now on. However, Yuzuki didn't go far at all. Suddenly, a thunder and lightning came down from the sky, and then it fell from his head. That speed is fast. Jade's son returned less inside Dan, simply unprepared. Boom! Thunder and lightning. After Yuzuki was cut down by lightning, he fell to the ground straightly. However, there was no blackening, no breath break. Just like sleeping peacefully, after falling to the ground, he quietly closed his eyes and fell asleep. But in the dream, he had many memories in his mind. For example, his birth and mission of existence. Another example is the origin of the 2 sects in Fairyland. Another example is the relationship between the existence of the 3 realms and the mysterious Protoss. It turned out that the thunder was not caused by the immortal world war, but came from a sky thunder outside the 3 worlds. Above the human world is the upper world, and above the upper world is the Fairyland. As for the Fairyland, it is said that it is the divine world. The Protoss are in charge of the 3 realms. At the beginning, the Protoss created people, so they were in charge of everyone's destiny. However, it is said that the demons are not controlled by the Protoss, and once a man is possessed by the demons, he will break away from the control of the Protoss, and his fate will be reduced to beyond the 3 realms. The Protoss is the god who makes people. Naturally, it is impossible for the demons to disturb the peaceful 3 realms. It's impossible to allow the people they created to become the demons who broke away from the control of the Protoss. Therefore, in order to prevent people from being seduced by the demons, the Protoss created a cultivation method, and formed an upper bound, with the ability to resist the temptation of the demons. But the temptation of demons to hire people also seems to exist, and once they become demons, they are more difficult to suppress. So God created a fairyland. A fairyland higher than the upper realm and closer to the Protoss. If people in the fairyland can practice kung fu, they will have a chance to become gods as long as they break through to the end. Such talent should be the most difficult to be seduced by the devil. However, there are still people who cultivate immortals and become immortals. Besides the 3 realms, the demons are even more out of God's control. Slowly, more and more immortals fall. Finally, the Protoss couldn't bear it and decided to destroy the demons. However, there are gods in the demons. It is said that the devil has the power to destroy heaven and earth, which is enough to match the Protoss. If God and devil really want to fight, it will be enough to destroy the whole world. In desperation, the Protoss and the demon god signed a treaty that they would never leave the divine world, and the 2 sides would never intervene in the 3 worlds in person. That's why the elves came to the fairyland from the divine world and helped several old men in the fairyland to seal the demons hand in hand. From then on, they were suppressed in the fairyland. As for the demon god, leave one hand at the same time. However, because of the treaty, neither the devil nor the god can cheat too obviously. The information in Yuzi's mind, after thorough integration, he slowly woke up. However, after waking up, because of the huge amount of information suddenly integrated, it caused a stab in the head. It took a long time for him to recover from the sting, but his face was a little strange. Protoss. The devil 2 words, even for Yuzi's return, are strange and legendary. But I didn't expect that it really existed. However, the thunder and lightning, is not the Protoss cut down, specifically to pass these messages to him? If it's true, what does the Protoss want him to do? Stop the Fairyland War. Maybe it is this. After all, once the demons break the seal, it will bring disaster to the three realms. However, from the information, it seems that the demons existed before human beings. Moreover, the demons did not seem to have the so-called violent killing in the rumor. Is it too selfish for the Protoss to seal it? But this idea just flashed through Yuzigiui's mind, and he was frightened. How could he have such an idea? Did she really dance with the clouds for a long time, and some of them were assimilated by her unique bold ideas? Thinking of this, Yuzigi couldn't help laughing bitterly. In fact, to be honest, I'm afraid he didn't spend 3 months with Yunwu. 3 months, more than hundreds of years. It seems that his love robbery is really insurmountable. Forget it, I don't want to. If the Protoss information is passed down, then he can't have any strange intention. He has to go back to the fairyland immediately. At the entrance of the human world into the upper world, Yuzi-Giui can feel it. However, because of frequent natural disasters, it took Yuzi a lot of time to get to the entrance. Upper bound. It's worse than the human world, and it's getting worse. After all, the fairyland is above the upper bound, and the impact is more serious. Especially on the way to the entrance of fairyland, the disaster becomes more obvious. Boom boom. Earthquakes come without warning. The ground brush burst open with hot molten slurry, engulfing many unprepared people. Ah, help me. Help. Intermingled calls for help came from all over the country. However, the disaster did not get any relief. Instead, it came more and more frequently and took more lives. Yuzi couldn't bear to see those lives die, but he couldn't stop to save those people. His inner suffering made him feel more uncomfortable. He could only speed up to the entrance of fairyland. At the same time. Entrance to fairyland. Situ Lan, Shengguan, you go back to the human world, Master Yun, they still need you. Nangong Yi, who is leading to the barrier, shouts to Situ Lan behind him. They are ready to go to the fairyland after they come out of Nirvana. But not long after they arrived at the entrance of the fairyland, they felt the wave coming from the fairyland. It's been 4 days. They have been deadlocked for 4 days in the barrier leading to the entrance of fairyland. At this time, there were injuries of different sizes in each body. At this time, only Situ Lan was the closest to Shengguan outside the barrier. After 4 days of activity, I'm afraid the upper world and the human world are not very calm. Nanganji, who is at the front with the knight, shouts to Situ Lan. Situ Lan is the prince of an kingdom. I'm afraid that what really happens in the human world needs his presence. As for Shengguan, it must not be a problem for him to take care of the Cloud family. How could Situ Lan not understand what he meant when he followed the official to hear the speech? However, now this barrier seems to be activated by the fluctuation of fairyland. They have been trapped here for 4 days. Even if they want to go out, it's a problem. No, we're trapped, too. Hongling, Lanyu, go back to the human world first. Shengguan turned his head and looked at Hongling on the other side. Because they are contract beasts dancing in the clouds, and they insist all the time, they bring them with them when they leave. Although this barrier exerts pressure on them and forces them back to their prototype, they are not trapped like them. How can we leave you like this? Yes, if something happens to you, how can we explain it to Mama in the future? That's it. A few guys won't go. Finally, Mengbai said, Yunwu's grandfather is what she cares about most. What's more, there are her father and grandfather's relatives in the human world. It's better for you to go back and protect them than to stand in a stalemate here. What's more, there's me here. It'll be okay. Mengbai is a snow rat. The barrier will not cause him to be trapped. A Hongling with a red flower, a blue Yu with a piece of ice soul, a half-ghost beast, and a small stink of red beacon fire. After the 4 guys heard the words, there was a moment of silence. I can. Little stink, you also have to go back to your Phoenix clan. Don't forget, you and your clan need you. After this sentence, Xiao Stinky's original unwillingness can only be silent. Okay, You go back quickly, the most important thing is to protect the people who need to be protected. Pray for the night and tell me. Now the situation is beyond their control. The entrance to Fairyland seems more and more turbulent. I'm afraid that if this goes on like this, there will be some accidents in this barrier. But you. However, in this stalemate, a figure came through the stone mountain and into the entrance of Fairyland. Who broke into the Fairyland? A hearing came, and then, he saw a man in luxurious clothes flying. Nangong Yi and others heard the sound. I can see that the temperament of the comer is extraordinary, elegant and detached, and it seems that there are some different feelings in the breath. Good old man, we just want to get to the entrance of Fairyland. It's just that there is turbulence coming from the entrance of Fairyland, which leads to the barrier being sealed. Nangong Yi said respectfully and politely. Man smell speech, eyebrow a see you, a pair of sharp eyes straight sweep them. When I saw that several people had spiritual roots, my look was a little more relaxed. However, when the line of sight saw those Meng by Hung Ling who were forced back to their original shape, their eyes were cold. To the Fairyland, don't you know that no one can break into the Fairyland without permission except those who have immortal roots? How can you bring inferior creatures into the Fairyland? Inferior creatures. The presence of Nangong Yi and others smell speech, Chi face slightly heavy, eyebrows slightly wrinkled. Senior, they are all our companions. Moreover, it is said that as long as they can pass this barrier, they can lead to the Fairyland, can't they? Praise the night color to open mouth coldly to say. Their companions along the way are said to be inferior creatures, and no one will be happy. But when the man heard that, his face became more gloomy, and he was pressed down by the powerful pressure. Who said that? I've been guarding for hundreds of years. How can I know such ridiculous stories? These days, if it was not for the sudden battle in Fairyland, he would not leave the guard's entrance temporarily. Unexpectedly, as soon as he returned to the entrance he guarded, he saw that several human beings were sealed inside the barrier. Originally, for the sake of their spiritual roots, he planned to help them. I didn't expect that they would talk to him with such an attitude besides carrying pets. For hundreds of years, anyone who wants to enter the Fairyland is not flattering him. For the first time, someone is so short-sighted. A burst of exasperation suddenly rose in the guard's heart. The Fairyland does not allow lower creatures to enter. Go away quickly. A hand flick, a powerful force will suddenly be a few people in the barrier with a small stink they fly out. In this way, they were so angry that they jumped. Your grandmothers, you are the lower creature, my master is the most noble witch saint, why do you look down on people with a dog's eye? Hung Ling de Honghua furiously said. That's right. I'm the little master of the Phoenix clan. What's a lower creature? You are the lower creature. Your whole family is. Little Stink also raised his head and roared. Lan Yu has always been calm, but this time his face is low. White Snow, that pair of scarlet rabbit eyes, angry cold looking at him, the same pair of anger. However, the guards seemed to be dismissive and said, inferior creatures are inferior creatures. Get out of here and let me drive you out again. Otherwise, it will not be so simple. When the Fairyland War was in turmoil, he didn't have the patience to waste time with these shrimps who wanted to enter the Fairyland. This arrogant attitude made a few little guys angry. You. As soon as Xiao Chou wants to speak, Nangong Yi reaches out his hand to signal him not to speak. He stepped forward and said politely, Master, we really have some reasons not to enter the Fairyland. If we offend more, please forgive me for our beginnings. This kind of respectful appearance made the guard feel comfortable, but he didn't intend to let them go like that. Now the Fairyland is not the time to enter the world of strangers. Now the Fairyland forbids anyone to enter, you go back first, and come back later. Master, we really have something urgent. Can you give us some accommodation? No, leave now. The guard brushed his hand impatiently. What you tell him, he's just trying to embarrass us. Meng Bai said with a frown. That's right. He's deliberately not letting us in. Hung Ling also said with the big red flower. It's obvious that the little ones are dissatisfied. But when the guard heard this, his face sank. Inferior creatures, are you qualified to speak? Language falls at the moment, a powerful force suddenly will Hongling to fly out. The powerful and fast power didn't even react to Nangong Yi. Hongling. Bai Shuer's wind system went away at top speed and caught Hongling at the moment when she was shot down. You've gone too far. Little Stinky raised his head and drank angrily. Then he flew up in the air and spewed fire at the man. But the guard seemed to disdain it completely. With a cold hum, he hit it with all his strength. Little Stink, be careful. Shangguan quickly aroused the spirit power to offset. But that power still beat him and Stink back a few steps. Nangong Yi's face changed greatly. Their fierce and terrifying fighting power in the upper world of human beings is so pale in front of this guard. Is this the gap with Fairyland? You really don't want to eat. Okay, I'll take you out in person. The guard said impatiently and coldly, and a powerful spirit force suddenly hit Nangong Yi from his hand. As for whether they will be maimed, this is not in his consideration. Seeing this, Nangong Yi and others immediately did not hesitate. The moment aroused by the spirit power, they left at the same time, bang bang. The attack of power stirred up a loud noise in mid-air. It seems that the guard did not expect that these people could resist him, and there was a little bit of side-purpose exploration in his eyes. However, they have already done so. Naturally, we can't just let it go. Since they can resist him, let's see if they can resist him. With a little skill, I want to enter the fairyland. I'm really ignorant. With a cold sound, the guard no longer seems to be merciful. Then please give me some advice. Shadow after shadow appeared in mid-air to count the enemy. For a moment, it was a draw. The guard didn't look very good at this. Especially when he found the special attack power of these people and contract beast after fighting, he had some small changes in his heart. However, at this time, it was impossible for him not to do so. But when the two sides were in full swing, a rather embarrassed figure appeared in the air not far away. Yuzigi didn't expect that as soon as he arrived at the entrance of Fairyland, he saw someone fighting. Originally, he didn't intend to interfere and delay the time, but when he saw clearly a few of them, he stopped abruptly. Is it them? Her life and death partners in Yunwu's memory. Why are they here? And this problem, Jade's son didn't think too long, after close, immediately stop. Guard of the Wind. A spiritual force separated the two sides, and the figure fell in the air. The wind bodyguard hears the sound, immediately stops the attack, but looks at the Jade sun that falls from the sky to return with a face surprised. Jade Master. You, why are you here? How could the Lord of Yuguishan appear here in such a mess? Not long ago, he heard about the sudden disappearance of the Yuguishan patriarch. How could he appear in the human world? He has been guarding the entrance, and has never seen him go out of the fairyland. For a moment, the wind bodyguard didn't care about Nangong Yi and others. Instead, he said respectfully to Yuzigi, Master Yu, now the Fairyland War, the Guangming faction has been looking for your whereabouts. It's really great that you can come back. Yuzigi just nodded to him, I came back to stop the war. What's the situation now? The war has spread to the edge of the elven forest. The orcs and mermaids are divided into two groups to fight. The Dark Emperor and the Ming Emperor are back. They are in the right hands. What's the situation in the fairyland now? It's serious. The wind bodyguard wants to say and stop saying. Those who guard the entrance of fairyland are always selected from the two factions, and this round of candidates just came from the Guangming faction. That's why Yuzigi knew the wind guard. The return of the Dark Emperor and the Ming Emperor? Hearing this, Yuzigi frowned. How can it be? If the Dark Emperor doesn't say it first, it means that the Emperor is charming. How can he go back to Yuguishan? Yes, I heard that the Dark Emperor had just returned to the Dark Cloud Palace, and the Ming Emperor had also returned to Yuguishan. Fortunately, there was the return of the Ming Emperor, otherwise, the dark faction would take the opportunity to devour the bright faction. Wind Bodyguard thought of the current situation, can't help saying 2 more words. Jade's sun return eyebrow more see you rise, a undercurrent flashed the eye ground, it seems that this somewhat existence. Bodyguard phone, these are all my friends. I'm afraid they need their help in this war. Do you think they can follow me back to the fairyland? Jade's sun return also don't delay, but directly turn to CI South Palace to wait to say.